I was
Hey,
going to say, if you're
Juan,
bringing the
Hey, how you
automobile
kids doing?
aficionado,
there's that beard. How are you?
Great, great. I was thinking about you, Matt. I was going to send that. It's a '54 Kaiser. I was going to send that uh, someplace else, but your neighbors were so entertained by the Imperial. I figured, well, I'll send the Imperial to storage, and we'll leave the Kaiser there for a few weeks. Let them enjoy that. They'll get a kick out of that. It's actually this is actually. We have a gas tank that needs to be replaced on the Imperial, very rare car, and it was one of the first cars to have disc brakes up front. And then the Kaiser was a very innovative car, and it's a runner driver, so you can run around the neighborhood, entertain the kids, let the dogs bark at you, bring it back home. So that's
well,
kind of
I
a
was, I
fun
was
car.
telling Warren, I was telling him, there's a gentleman who walks around the neighborhood, elderly gentleman, probably in his 80s, and every time he's looking at the car, like
Right,
he's like ogling the car. And I'm finally
right.
out there one morning. I was like, "Do you want to come closer and look?" And he goes, "I lost my virginity in a car, this same exact model." And I said, "Well, maybe you want to come in and take a look. Maybe it's the same exact car." So,
Right, right. I'm sure there's a bunch of really cool cars there. And if things go like they should, and maybe some entertainers start moving towards maybe Vegas and getting out of the nastiness of Hollywood, there's no telling what kind of cars you'll see there, which I'd say there's probably some really good ones.
Juan,
Well,
just
the
just
heat's so bad. I
today,
hate to have my cars down there too long, especially a black one.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a really controlled temperature kind of an environment, and so I've got inside for the cars I'm concerned about uh, north of you, but some of the other ones I got to think about where I'm gonna, put them. So, um,
and just today,
the
I was thinking that
Kaiser.
He's going to have them everywhere.
it was a
Go
50.
ahead, go
It
ahead,
was it
Matt.
was a Bel Air, a Chevy Bel Air with that aqua blue color. I said, "Oh, Juan would like that car."
Yeah, yeah. I haven't wanted the 54s as much as I'm really a 56, 7, 8, 9 person because they put 12-volt in the cars in 56. So it really changed the cars quite a bit. The horsepower started coming up. 55 and older, they were still 6-volt cars. And, but something happened. I got the 54 Chrysler that's in your driveway, Imperial, and it was supposed to be a parts car, and it's in such excellent shape that I just had new carpet put in it. The rest of it was in pretty good shape. And then it's got a gas tank that had some holes in it. So we'll replace that gas tank, but it's a runner driver. It's a phenomenal car. And then I have the only 54 Chrysler convertible that was ever built. It's interesting because uh, originally I got it as a 53 Chrysler, but as we've gone through it, it wasn't titled till 54. It's the only one that was ever built. So it was shown at car shows as a 53 model, but it wasn't titled till 54. There's almost no change in anything in the rest of the body stuff, but a lot of fun. That was, a big hot rod motor in there. It has that Hemi motor that
Mhm.
was a big deal back then. And then both of them were automatics, so they were, push button automatics like that. And then the other one that's interesting, that I just got that is really very very rare is a 54 DeSoto Woody convertible. So most people have seen a Town and Country Chrysler, which is a very cool car, and I just negotiated to buy two of those. But a DeSoto Woody is they maybe made 100 of them, and I talked to some of the photos of guys within the DeSoto clubs, and nobody's ever seen one in the flesh except when they were kids, in the 50s. So very, very rare animal. They're hard to maintain. So most of the people, they went, in the history books. But that's a really cool car.
Warren, I actually got two of his vehicles in the driveway. So
he's got vehicles all over
yeah,
the place.
I forgot the other one. Yeah. But anyway, the Storm Summit is shaping up to be quite something. This Storm Summit is going to be unreal. If you were smart enough to get a ticket before July 4th, you're genius. It is $100 more expensive till the end of the month here. And it's going to be an epic, not to be missed thing. So if you get a chance to come, you better come. It's going to be, I think it'll be the best conference of the year anywhere in the country. So, and a lot of things have been improved. The sound system wasn't really balanced the way that we wanted it for Dark Horse. We've made arrangements. In fact, I think we spent it here in the last few hours, but for a whole different sound system that we control for the Storm Summit. And so it will be a much easier movie to listen to, larger screen and like that. The Ahern is taking out the bar in the middle of the floor at great expense. Don Ahern and I walked the floor, and he promised to have that out, so we'll have a much different presentation going the opposite direction. It'll be the first time the Aherns probably had their floor laid out the way it was supposed to be all along. So it's going to be epic. Be there, be square.
It's going to make it a big area with the screen back there by the restaurant and stuff. That's a big, that's a lot of people, isn't it?
And
1,000.
I was going to say, Juan,
people
like
really
cars with
enjoy
power, you want more power. Juan wants more size on the screen.
Right?
Yeah, much bigger. If you liked the Fraud Fighter Summit,
yes,
we took a lot of things to heart. We learned a bit on it. People still said it was a fantastic event, best event of the year, but we're going to make improvements on that. The material that we're going to present, oh my gosh, you have no idea. I'm not even going to tell people all the trick stuff, but there's quite a bit that we've got in play that I think it'll be the event of the year. So we're working hard to make it that.
And there's 3, at least last time we sold out almost 3 hotels, the sections that we had. Do we have more at the Ahern this time, or is it about the same?
We do.
We have a few more rooms there and then some other stuff, but I think we're probably going to have to lock something in with even another hotel potentially. We'll see how people do. A lot of people, they're from the area, or they have friends in the area, or they have a favorite hotel. So, but we sold out everything we did with the hotels that we had last time. I suspect the Trump will sell out just because people enjoy the Trump there too. I don't know. We have a meeting, Matt and I do later in the week to walk through again everything and make sure that we have the hotels and food and like that. We've made some changes to the food situation, so that will go smoother too. So we're just kind of soup to nuts. We're trying to make it every bit that the last one was and improve it dramatically even from that. So
yeah. And Warren, what we did, if the folks go to stormsummit.us, it'll take you to the registration page, and you can also make your hotel reservation there, because the cost of the event doesn't include the cost of the hotel rooms, everything else, but not the hotel rooms. But you can stay at the Ahern. There's a link for that. They've given us 105 rooms, so we've got 105 rooms there. We've got
at a discount from the normal prices. If you
all these are discounted rates. Sahara's given us.
You have to go through the Storm Summit. You have to go through that web page to get the discount.
Yes, stormsummit.us. Go there. you'll see the various hotels. It'll say click here. You click there. That'll take you direct link to register at the discounted group rate. But we have the Ahern, the Sahara, the Stratosphere, which is about 3 blocks away, and the Trump Hotel. So you've got your pick of 4 different hotels you can choose from.
I was extremely happy. I was extremely happy with the setup and the people, the way it was organized at the Ahern. Nice rooms, clean, just good people, and having things set up around the top. I mean, there's some people kind of sitting up there, but it was just nice, and you learn stuff. I've put together the ones at PPN, and you learn things. And but it was great. If things were going crazy in the background, people didn't necessarily know it. Kind of like getting the things in Virginia, getting everything set up in Virginia. I know you're about to pull.
With
well,
3 minutes to
pull your
spare.
hair out, Matt, but I can't say that.
Yeah. 3
Well,
minutes to spare.
the one thing I would say, Warren,
Yes, sir.
people that went to the Fraud Fighters, there were certainly things that we want to improve. I had done a private bond conference about, 7 or 8 weeks before. And so I felt comfortable we could go forward. And then this one, certainly we've learned a lot, go through a learning curve. But I don't think anybody was really complaining that much. We had some comments. People were helpful to help us with ideas to improve, speed things along and like that. But I think everybody that came had a great experience. And the most important thing that they got is what you just referred to, the chance to enjoy some camaraderie with like-minded people, hang out. Most of the speakers were available to everybody who was there the whole time. They were very generous. It was just fun. And even where the food line was a little long, you got to visit with other like-minded people and meet people. And so that's the best part of a Trump rally. It's the best part of these type of events, just hanging with other like-minded people and enjoying their company. That's the way it is, right?
Exactly. I told my parents it's the first time I've been to Vegas, and I played pool in Vegas many times. A lot of pool tournaments in Vegas and Atlantic City, but the first time I've been to Vegas, and I didn't drink and I didn't gamble. I was like, and I had a great time. I had one of the best times I've had in Las Vegas. So that was very weird to me, but a new world there for me.
Well, and then, even after the event, before and after, I was there at the Trump, I think, for 5 days before I headed out. And I was pretty busy, 16, 17 hours a day with meetings that I had. And just a great time. Loved everybody and got to say hi to a few folks that stayed behind or were around. And that was just a blast. So very enjoyable. So we're going to try very hard to make it every bit as good or better than the last one. And, even the president was aware of it. We had numerous people out in D.C. here that commented that they were aware of the summit or the Fraud Fighter Summit and heard very good things. Everybody that reported back said that it was, very enjoyable. So, it's so gripping because there's 1,000 things that can go wrong. If 25 of them, you're a genius. But we had favor. I would have to say divine favor. Everything. There was a number of things that could have been, distracting or a problem, and we got through all of them, didn't we, Matt?
We did, and I want to just echo again the Ahern, Karen Eastman, others very understanding, helping. It was the first time we did something at that scale. Of course, Juan wants to make this one even bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to your point, Mark Cook helped us out a lot with the making sure that event worked well with the streaming and the IT. And then he helped we put a letter out, and Warren, what we did is created a survey. and we're getting inputs. We wanted to hear, hey, what did you like? What didn't you like? And we're going to make this better because, as we said, and Juan said it, I said it, is that the folks that came, the audience made that summit. The speakers were great, honest to goodness, yes, and there's going to be even great ones again that you're going to see coming. Maybe even get some little truth on 9/11 coming up for this little teaser. We're going to show a little ankle, not the thigh yet, a little ankle.
Wow.
But this is going to be one that you want to see, and it's going to come right on the heels of the RNC rally. They're calling it a rally, not a convention rally, which is going to be in Dallas, like just a couple days before this. When that ends, ours starts.
Wow, that's nice.
Well, and I don't know that there's anything else that will get done till the end of the year after this, of where there's a chance to really hang together and do something fun, hang with the other folks. One thing, I'm out in DC here, and I've been in town every day for meetings. I've had, since you left, Matt, I've probably had a dozen meetings. And I've been holding, because we're waiting on one. They tried to reach me a few minutes ago, so I'll find out after the show. But there's one critical meeting that I've been waiting to have for some time, and they're trying to coordinate so I can come in DC and do that meeting. And so, but the shows that or the events that I went to several other events put on by other groups. And while there was people communicating, speaking, spending time together, etc., a couple news conferences, it was not anywhere near the same as what we had in Vegas. And I'll tell you why. Everybody that was invited, all the people that were there were very much in, podcasters, news, political office, etc. It didn't have that feel. None of them had that feel of a cross section. They were nice. I'm glad I got to go enjoy the company like that. Wasn't it all the same? What's been neat about each of the events that we've done out there in Vegas has been the variety of people, and I just think of a more healthy cross section of the Patriot community. I don't know any other way to put it that's accurate, but just getting to hang out with people. Everybody finds their tribe. I was talking with Lloyd Brunson, and there was a particular thing that we both attended. We had Tina in tow, and I commented to him, it's not quite exactly our tribe. It's fun to be here. I know Tina enjoyed it. And he was blunt. He says, it's not our tribe. It's not the same as what, he and I have been doing. By the way, wait till you see what happens with Loy and me. Have we got a whopper for you? It may set the whole country on its ear. We're in the thick of it. So there's some fun stuff coming with Loy, but and I. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun.
When you say that might be the last time everybody kind of gets together, I have told my group that probably after,
not the last time, just the last time this year.
Yes, sir. And that's what I meant. But sorry about that. But I might kind of chill October. I might personally not kind of run around like I have been as much. Not for sure. I'll wait for how things are going, but there might be some different atmosphere going on is my thoughts. I don't know about what y'all think.
Well, I've been told there's some drama ahead, some pretty serious drama. And so we're going to enjoy ourselves, I think, comfortably so. I'll be traveling right up to Election Day, right, depending on what's going on. But at the end of the day, we have to stay engaged. That said, I think drama's afoot. I've told everybody where I think things are going and why. And what was amazing, where I would get huge pushback in past years, because, I've told you where I thought this was going, Matt, years ago. Do you think I've changed my tone at
The
all, or is
Sunday
that pretty?
the Sunday after the Tuesday election in 2020, and I thought either this guy knows a lot or he's loco en la cabeza.
Loco güero. Loco güero.
But
You've been there with me, Matt, numerous
yes.
times when I've kind of strained some people's brains, and so you've seen those conversations over many years. But with what's happening right now, I mean, I think that we're pretty precisely where I said we were going to be so far. So
Well,
does that
I
sound? Am
agree.
I saying it accurately?
100%.
And I agree. And
And the only
things that I
reason
think
for
are
saying
seminal
that,
here.
by the way, is not.
Go ahead.
The only reason for saying that, for the audience's sake, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just trying to say that, you go on a track record. Within that track record, I think I've been right on the rails through to this point in time, and so I think that's why I've got a little more latitude in some of these conversations that I've had, and people want to go back over the details of what's going to happen next. So, we're in a mercurial period. There's a lot on the line. And I think, the other thing is just for everybody, trust but verify. I think I'm pretty on the cash with everything that I've said. I feel comfortable, even in the book, Kid by the Side of the Road. I don't really know of any area in the book, any critical stuff other than, half a dozen typos that got past all of us that we will change in any later edition that we do. But, and by the way, we've got people wanting to do a Portuguese edition. And I think I'd do the same thing as I did with the Japanese edition, do it side by side, English and Portuguese. And they've got it nearly done.
International.
Yeah, but with all that said, I don't think there's anything in there that today I would feel comfortable changing, because I'm trying to give a feel of where things are and what's going to happen, and I think we're on the cash. So anyway,
I have diligently followed most, probably 80% of your shows for the last 5 or however long I've been watching you, and yes, sir, you are right on. You are right on the money. So yes.
Well,
I agree.
the other thing is this: I do kind of sweat bullets. I had to send somebody down the road here. I do kind of sweat bullets because, a lot of people are, they're in very fragile states, mentally, families, friends, things like that. And so I feel the concern, pressure, whatever, not to embarrass somebody or to put them in a tough spot. And I have had to come back several times where stuff got repeated differently than I said it, in some enthusiasm or whatever, or some people trying to twist what I've said into something else. So I've had to come back and address some of those at times. Most common one, Gasara Nasara and stuff like that. So it's not hijacked within what I'm saying. But, I do, I do take it very personally, because I know that I am talking to larger audiences, to try and be as precise as I can be, and also to pull people back when they want to get ahead of where things are at or where they're going, and, not have them lose credibility amongst friends and family and stuff like that. So, I'm sensitive to that. It concerns me, pretty regularly. So,
Well, I tell you though, I felt Well, three things. When I saw you, when I saw you on the Case for America, and people then start texting me with a screenshot of that, they go, are we in a different phase? I go, well, we're certainly in the Moses phase or Methuselah phase. But what I think is interesting, and it fits up with what you've been saying, Trump has come out now several times, and the vice president too, and he's defining American culture, not just what we were, but what we are to be. And then he says the communists are not going to. He talked about communism like he's never talked about it before. And then even on July 4th, on his speech, he talked about this is his third term. He goes, well, I don't want to get controversial, but this is my third term. So he's drawn the gauntlet on communism and the fight. It will not pass here. We will stop it. Period. He goes, they are not going to succeed. And number two, he keeps intimating what you said to many 1 May of 2021, the Trump Hotel, when you tried to explain to folks the bifurcation of being the president and being the commander in chief.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was interesting. I didn't even think about it until you just now mentioned it just now. I had a contact down in Texas that called me earlier today, had texted me something, then called. And I had stayed at their house all the way back in 2021. And they had about a dozen neighbors and friends over. What we did is we went out at like 1 o'clock in the morning after some scotches, and some of the others had beer. I'm not a big beer drinker. And they wanted to get some hogs that were tearing up this bottomland they had, and they go out at night with the rifle and the low light and try to get them because they're out scrounging. And so because they were destroying this area that they used for feeding their cattle, and also it was not leaving anything for the deer. So we're out there doing that. But in that time with the firelight and with the guns and everything else, I had told his neighbors where I felt this was going and what Trump's position was at the time, and mentioned what had just happened over at Cheyenne Mountain. And they were very incredulous. They thought, and the one person was a one-star general. And so they had not taken too kindly to it a little bit. We had fun, but wow. He was kind of, betwixt, but he's stayed in contact. And he called up this morning all, excited because his neighbor and he had gone golfing, and the neighbor says, well, I listened to something, such and so, where I'd done the interview with Trennis. He's probably right at this point in time. I don't want to admit it, but he's probably right.
Right.
And so he was all encouraged because that gained a lot of favor for him amongst the rest of the neighbors. And they all get along out there. They got, 10,000 acre ranches or something. But the other thing that was interesting, Jen had a relative out of the blue, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, that contacted her and literally apologized because she had been very less than cordial. Yeah, she said 10 years ago, mm-hmm. With things that Jen had said, and they weren't happy and they had to say you were right. So we're not soliciting that, but to get that kind of communication, I think that's probably more common even amongst your listeners now, who are getting similar feedback from people they know, people they've talked to, relatives, coworkers. I would think that you're getting more respect because it's becoming better understood that there's something horrendously wrong with the voting system. And then also that President Trump was serving in a different role than he was acknowledged as being in, as I've said, nuclear and beyond. during all of this intervening period. So, and people have had to step back and start thinking again. The one thing you have to keep in mind, there's two continuity in government operations going on, senior executive service and the military with NORAD. And it's becoming more and more apparent that those two teams are in great conflict. And of course, that's why Trump also now has been posting Q stuff. Okay. And you have so many people that wanted to, disavow any knowledge of anything Q, and I never looked, and I'm not going to look, and it's not, it's not real, it's a psyop, and all that. And now they're having to come back. Even very well-known people within the Patriot community are having to eat some crow there because if the president's going to put it on his White House website and things like that, that's not somebody who was doing that in grandma's basement. And it's a much more sophisticated operation than most have ventured out to say. I was the one that coined the term team because early on people thought it was an individual. I said, it's not an individual, it's a team. And they're augmented by AI, but the AI is dumb. That's just to get the interleaving correctly, the postings every second, even in many of the posts, is critical when you add the numbers like that. So there's a lot of overlying things, and then for this certain date coding and like that comes down to right now. So you'll find over time, kids will be researching this generations from now, learning new things that weren't understood at the time until more and more of the president's papers and other people's papers come out. So it'll be a lot of fun for a long time. It's got a long ways to go.
Hey, Juan, here's a question real quickly that Mandy put up on Rumble from Ingalio. Question for 107. Is his next book, Storm, coming out soon? 107 is a world hero.
Well, let me just say this. I don't. This whole community is a community of heroes. You hear me talk about that with the coalition, everybody there.
Yes, sir.
It is a team effort. You've seen it, Warren. There's no one individual that should take credit for what's gone on here. Even within, for example, the stuff I'm doing out here in DC right now, without the beautiful opportunity assistance of our friends out here, we couldn't have done anything of what just happened out here. That's team. I'll tell you the other thing, and I'll say it here. The most beautiful part of the coalition stuff, the stuff that we've done numerous places, Matt, within the team. Somebody raised this to me the other day. We've had some people come and go, and they're not there anymore. The team that remains right now is just the most enjoyable people, work together people. I don't know that you could identify any other group within, say, the Patriot movement in a general sense that enjoys each other's company, gets along, sacrifices work, and isn't worried about, am I getting credit for this, than this team. Is that really the way you feel too, Matt? Am I overstating it?
I feel exactly the same way. Matter of fact, I sent it to Mandy and Warren, that song that was kind of a collaborative event. Somebody had the access to do it with an AI generation, but it's called One Nation Under God. And Mandy and Warren have the song and the lyrics to it. And Bannon loved the song. I mean, he called me yesterday and he wants to produce the song and with a real band and a real singer and take it to #1 in the nation. And he said, who wrote it? And I said, the coalition wrote it. No, but who wrote it? We wrote it. There is, and some of the folks who are more hands-on with feeding it into that system to have it pop out don't want their names out there. They just want goodness to happen for the nation. You're right. It's not about me. It's we're happy seeing the nation go in the right direction.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So I just think that's part of the reason we're able to be as effective as we are, is because so many people have just thrown in all the way just to get the job done. The folks that helped us out getting Tina shuttled, we'll get them covered for what they did. But I'll tell you what, to step up like they did, that was a big deal with the jet.
And the Lord was watching over the jet, for one thing.
Yeah.
Woo!
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
one person we know very well, just for the audience to know, normally when a tower is closed, they'll set, it's called pilot controlled lighting that you can activate from the cockpit, and you bring them on. Well, they apologize, but this one particular airport, when the tower left, they forgot to turn that on. So this one pilot, we all know this person very well, very skilled, landed without lights on the runway, and he did a good job.
And he said he had worked his whole career and learned his whole career maybe for that flight with such precious cargo.
Yeah. Again, team effort, Matt, and really divinely the right people stepping forward at just the right time. We've got a pretty deep Rolodex, and it is fun. So many people that have things to add. In the scripture, it talks, everybody coming with a verse or a prophecy or a song or whatever. Well, we had all that here. So, and again, I think that, the other reason I think that's important is that the people we like to hang with out through the audience, I think that is our tribe. When you look at the Las Vegas event, even where we had some things that were going a little bit awry, way beyond the 99th percentile, everybody just, worked through it, got along, assisted, stepped up somehow. That's why it was so enjoyable, is that we just powered through and had a great time. There was other phases, because it wasn't even just the event. It was getting to hang with all the other people and just have a great time. It was a picnic for everybody that was there to just come have fun. And by the way, I will tell you too, we had one of our guys who liked to do reporting and like that, put out memes and just a beautiful person. And he rode down on his motorcycle. So he came down from Colorado on his motorcycle, and it was a little bit underpowered. I felt a smaller bike than I'd have done that long of a trip, but he was in his early 70s. He had the great time. He was on his Zen motorcycle trip on the way home, and he just had a great time. He was right up there in the front row the whole time. But he did pass away on his way home, and had a family member mention that they felt very strongly that he had passed over doing exactly what I like to do. He got sick in a hotel room about a day from getting home, and so we just enjoyed each other's company so much. I think that's part of this whole thing, and to have somebody that was where God put them for the last days of their life with great patriot friends, and he'd been at other stuff. He was just a fun person, and he was right there with his tribe too. So I think that's another, like a God nod, that he got to be there with people he really loved and enjoyed and spend that time together. And we got all the pictures. He was laughing. He's having so much fun. He was hanging out. I don't want anybody to go, but if you're going to go, that was a fun context for that. So,
It's neat how it seems like the coalition has gone international because there's so many similarities, especially with Brazil and South Korea, and being able to really have a great conversation with both Eduardo and well, Jennifer was speaking the interpreter on Friday most of the time. It was great to hear
Yeah,
what he
not
had to
my Jen.
say.
My Jen also,
Yeah,
because she speaks
yes, sir.
Chinese, but the interpreter from the South Koreans. And by
So
the
yes,
way,
sir.
I certainly we were pushing angles there several years ago. It's fun to because of course across Asia they have issues. That's why you remember I spent quite a bit of time in Japan over the last couple of years, and they've been struggling to get a hold of their situation there. And but for the fact that they went to the wrong area of the server room, we might be in a whole different moment right now. It was a mistake, but God's got His hand on it, and we're going to continue to help the South Koreans. I know that there's another delegation going over there in the next few days that we're not directly tied to. So I'll be watching that closely. I'm a little bit concerned for reasons you and I went over, Matt. But on the whole, drawing more attention within the U.S. Patriot community, the Brazilian community, to the broader problem, and then focusing on South Korea, where the president's in jail, focusing on Brazil, where the president's in jail, is very appropriate. They wanted to do to President Trump what they did in these other countries, and they still want to do it in other countries. So our work's cut out for us to get in there and not only get our own elections back under control, but to assist folks in these other countries to get their own elections back under control.
Hey, Juan. Also, you spent a lot of time in Japan, of course. You've mentioned Japan, the canary in the coal mine. I know General Holton, others are texting me to ask you. Japan's 10-year government bond yield has surged to 2.83%, its highest level in 29 years. Your thoughts on the bond issue now going on in Japan?
Is that reverse carry trade?
Well, Japan's banking system is so closely tied to the American. Remember, our FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, insures the Japanese bank depositors also. That's why it was so smooth to use the Japanese banking system when we took down the Soviet Union for monetary transactions that we converted into other currencies and then used to buy rubles. Brazil is directly tied into that also. There's all sorts of issues into Brazil. I mean, I could spend, a couple days talking about the connections into Brazil and the urgency of the situation. I've mentioned to your audience before, the Japanese people, the largest population of Japanese people outside of Japan proper isn't the U.S., it's Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
So the Brazilian economy and elections are very closely tied to Japan. And Japan, of course, with security concerns to China and Russia, is very concerned about South Korea. And I don't want to go any deeper than that, but there's a very deep concerns towards Japan, really our closest ally, I think, in the world right now. That's a bizarre statement to some people to hear, but I think it's accurate. So their concerns about elections, their concerns about the region, and then all the way to South America are very solid concerns for to America. And so the fact that we are able to work as closely as we do with Japanese intelligence and the business community and like that's actually a big deal. So
There for a little bit with a reverse carry trade. What I've always heard is that they were needing people to borrow money, borrow their currency, if I'm not mistaken, and they were doing it for 0, maybe 1%, maybe below 0, depending on somebody's.
It's a very difficult thing to have the conversation
Okay. Gotcha.
with people who aren't doing this every day. And even the ones that do it every day, there's a lot of nuances about our relationship with Japan into the banking world. And so it's not you can't have an honest conversation that's trite. You can't go through it in just a couple minutes and look at the big obvious indicators and really understand what it means, because there's a lot of jostling and leveling out that we do through the Japanese market to the rest of the world. And it may look like we don't want something to happen when in reality we kind of sort of do. So, and Japan's banking system works very closely with ours. So I'd be careful to throw too many stones at it or look for monkey wrenches. The reality is, if you're going to see a monetary crisis, you almost certainly will see it in Brazil first, Japan second, and then the US.
Right.
And it'll go relatively quickly. And remember, Brazil has been playing this game with China and Russia, where it was Brazil, Russia, India, China, where the BRICS currency was coming from to compete with the dollar in trade. And that is kind of going the other direction. Stuff that's behind the scenes, we have what we call on ledger and off ledger transactions. And so within the International Federal Reserve System, there's a lot of money, including gold, including silver and other things, that certain excruciatingly wealthy parties would like to put on ledger within the International Reserve System, including the right to put a lot of these pallets with $1 million in U.S. currency and some other currencies on ledger. Had Hillary won, they would have put most all of that on ledger and destroyed the dollar. You would have seen mischief within the Nasara operations, and massive amounts of that money come on ledger, which would have diluted all of the existing money. It would have destroyed the 401ks like that of Americans, and the value of the dollar. You'd see the stock market at $1 million right now or more.
Right.
Why? Not because it's super wealthy, but because the assets which are represented within the stock market would have been worth that much less. So the stock market wouldn't have collapsed; it had gone to outer space. But the money you're getting paid back with is worth, fractions of what it was beforehand. And so, with that in mind, there's a very, very delicate operation to maintain the stock market values, not just numbers, but true value to taxpayers, their 401ks, etc., to balance with precision the amount of money coming online in the Federal Reserve System on ledger that can then be traded between banks internationally. Even some of it very legitimate, but not, you can't put it on there without throwing the whole balance out. Trump, Besant, look, I'll just say it very bluntly. I had strong concerns about Besant, but he's been very precise in doing exactly what the president and the team behind the president wanted done. I don't know of anything right off the top of my head where he has gone wide of what the president actually wants with the people behind him. And I'm talking the military, not just some businessman, individual or something like that.
Yes.
And so the reason that you're able to go to the gas station, use your credit card and buy gas, go to the grocery store and get groceries, even in wonky markets with gas prices rising, is because of the very deft handling of these issues and anticipating these issues, which the president and certain people have done on the financial side. And there's stuff that somewhere along the line I'll talk about more detail, but there's amazing things that have happened within the financial markets and Treasury specifically, opposing the Federal Reserve, that have been just stunning. And there's more to come. The president's going to war, with the bankers out of London. He's not letting up.
He's not. And if I could, a post from Trump on Truth Social about 3 hours ago says, "Great news. I've just been informed that one of the biggest, best, and smartest retailers in America, Walmart, will be lowering prices by a lot at my administration's request to celebrate our great country's 250th birthday. Walmart will, in particular, be dropping the price for a pound of ground beef by almost 15%, among many other products. This is a huge deal for many millions of Americans who smartly shop at Walmart, which is a truly patriotic company who loves the USA. My administration is lowering prices at Joe Biden."
Restored Republic via GCR Up Duty Note: the world is connected. All or nothing. Trust the plan. The world is. On Monday, July 6, 2026, the biggest week in human history began when the quantum system blocked the cabal's old fiat currency SWIFT system, causing a global currency reset of 209 nations, plus blackouts throughout Europe. At the same time, the price of gold exploded as it backed the now active global currency, like in the emergency broadcasting system would finally tell the world what really happened. That Monday also began the greatest military sting operation the world has ever known, engineered by President Trump's global military alliance of 200-plus nations. Right now, military units across the globe are coordinating their destruction of the Satan worshipper deep state cabal elite power structure. A day prior, on Sunday 5th of July at 6:13 a.m. EST, Operation Mass Arrest 0705 began, according to Pentagon sources. Deep state operatives were detained, 847 federal judges arrested for treason, corruption and crimes against humanity, 456 CIA officials indicted for assassinations, 234 senators and congressmen arrested for treason, bribery, and election fraud, plus 678 FBI officials arrested for obstruction, cover-ups and corruption. A large-scale purge of military and intelligence personnel was already underway, according to an official U.S. military report. It claims that 847 military officers, 234 Pentagon officials, 456 intelligence personnel, and 678 military contractors have been removed or detained as part of what supporters describe as an effort to eliminate corruption and restructure the defense establishment. In addition, the White Hat Alliance High Command have officially breached the central servers that hold the DNA-targeted tracking codes and patent logs. Every blackmail file, every synthetic virus blueprint, and every private ledger tracking the corrupt funds that flowed between Western pharmaceutical giants and Eastern production facilities was now in the hands of the Alliance commanders. It was found that the deep state financial and biological command centers ran through a highly encrypted, multi-generational banking network that connected Wuhan straight to the Khazarian operations in Israel. Evidently, for the last 3 decades, the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has served as an administrative proxy for an elite group that managed global viral labs, human trafficking corridors, and synthetic financial weapons. The bottom line: Big Pharma's deepest black budget operations in Wuhan were entirely funded and directed by the Khazarian faction operating behind the shield of Tel Aviv. On 27 Jan. 2026, the U.S. Space Force, under direction of President Trump, seized the infinite silver vaults beneath Greenland, that for centuries had been protected by satanic bloodlines. With the gold/asset-backed global currency reset going live on Saturday 4th of July, The price of gold exploded past $5,100, while silver prepared to rise vertically. A situation updates, Monday, July 6, 2026. Situation update, Byington bombshell report, constitutional law, RV and debt forgiveness activate as military arrests 847 federal judges. C2s. July 7, 2027 imminent. For weeks the grid has been whispering the same pattern: banks pause, satellites recalibrate, tickers glitch, courts seal, anchors out sick. That's not noise. That is staging. What is coming? Worldwide blackout and rolling waves. Not every city at once. It will look random. It is not. Martial law overlay to keep streets quiet while the old rails are drained. Flight delays, cancelled pressers, global currency reset that flips value from paper promises to asset weight, freedom from cabal debt as legacy ledgers convert to zero or fulfilled. What you'll see first: 1. Local power flickers followed by identical maintenance notices across unrelated providers. 2. News channels looping the same frame. No live panels. No calends. 3. Payment apps timing out at login, then reopening with a new terms screen. 4. Airport boards that show on time while terminals are held at the gate. 5. A short tone on radio and TV, then a quiet screen. Do not panic. That is the bridge. What IT means: the blackout is the curtain so the crew can change the set. Martial law is the lock so no one runs the old tricks. The arrests are the receipts that everything you suspected was not only real, it was systemic. The currency reset is the power cord. Freedom is the first breath after years underwater. How to move through IT: charge devices now. Screenshot critical info. Keep one device in airplane mode, turn off auto updates after the first tone. You do not need a surprise patch mid-sequence, cash on hand for 72 hours. Water, light, calm, do not chase rumors. Markers will be simple in public. Markers I will post: market feeds that return data void for more than 6 minutes, government portals that show 888.88 or 0000.00 in place of numbers, the first tribunal docket timestamp. You will know the names: QFS wallet props that pair to biometric identity without SSN, Jazara credits labeled reconciliation or fulfilled. After, when screens return, balances will not look like yesterday. Student debt and revolving credit show closed. Mortgage entries say fulfilled or reconciled. Pension values float to a gold index instead of dollar inflation. You will feel the room change before you understand why. Do not let fear write the story for you. The cabal sold you a lifetime lease on your own future. That contract is about to be void. D2s. July 7, 2026, the Cheyenne Mountain Complex has locked out the shadow spectrum. System disconnect imminent. The sudden, unannounced military exercises and air traffic rerouting over the Colorado sector today have nothing to do with standard defense drills. While the public is instructing their attention toward the surface operations at the Denver International Airport, the real operational shift is occurring deep inside the granite bunkers of the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. The corporate media pools are already staging a cover story regarding a critical atmospheric satellite calibration error, but the decrypted backend data logs reveal an absolute tactical execution. At exactly 1544 EST, a joint task force of alliance-wide hats permanently overrode the primary server matrix of the old NORAD tracking grid. The legacy deep state operators have officially lost their administrative clearance codes, and the entire orbital surveillance net has been migrated onto the secure quantum Starlink system. Here's the unedited technical trajectory of what hits our reality next. The DUMBS disconnect. The subterranean high-speed transit loops connecting the Denver bunker vaults to the Cheyenne Mountain command centers have been physically sealed. Alliance engineering units have isolated the lower levels, cutting off the elite's primary continuity of government exit routes and securing the encrypted logistics ledgers of the shadow infrastructure. Project Odin enforcement. The old corporate satellite tracking grids are being systematically dark-mapped. The quantum system has initiated a non-reversible override on the primary media relays. Any broadcasting network or communication hub that is not anchored to the clean, gold-backed ISO 20022 security protocol is scheduled for a hard termination by midnight. The blackout tradition, the transition to the Tesla-free energy grid is entering its primary phase. The old matrix power grids are calibrated to undergo a brief, controlled global calibration period. During this window, the traditional narrative streams will go silent, replaced instantly by the 10-country emergency broadcast system, EBS, to deliver unsealed military court files directly to the population. Look closely at the irregular flight groundings and the sudden, silent withdrawal of high-ranking administrative personnel from restricted government zones across North America tonight. Their authority certificates are dead, and their grid is short-circuiting. They constructed an underground empire to insulate themselves from the collapse they manufactured for humanity. But the master keys have been turned from the inside, the validation metrics are live, and the old architects have officially run out of broadcast range. The lower levels are neutralized. The final frequency is active. What we thought we knew, but didn't really know and now are supposed to know but don't have a clue. With clones, doubles, made-up movies Hollywood style and Trump's military alliance throwing more popcorn at us, it gets so confusing. Twos. July 7, 2026 900 people went in witness. The cabal found out that he was alive, so they scened his death for the second time. You can only break the cabal from the inside. They all knew what the cabal did to our innocent children in the world. Twos. July 7, 2026 shockwaves from the deep state cabal's BlackRock liquidation, caused by the global currency reset on Saturday, July 4, 2026, hit the global venture capital hubs hard. 3 hours after the initial server seizure, the boardrooms in New York, London, and Tokyo were in a state of terror because their access codes no longer communicated with the global ledger. The algorithms they use to manipulate public perception, control legacy media outlets and engineer fake inflation numbers have been overridden by the new quantum system protocols. Every fraudulent corporate claim over public utilities, water rights and family homesteads was being declared legally null and void under natural justice mandates. Twos. July 7, 2026 Trump is preparing to build a smart wall at the U.S. border. This new wall will have new technology and sensors to allow Border Patrol to know who is attempting to illegally enter America. This will be fast-tracked for completion by 2027. In 1983 the CIA and USAID published a 92-page playbook for the LA riots. Officials mapped out how they would pay criminals and other agitators to ramp up anger among ethnic minorities and students with the goal of having them riot in the streets. Jim Caviezel. On Monday, July 7, 2026 USA Awakening on Telegram reported that Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese had resigned and then promptly disappeared. The White Hats and International Maritime Alliance had seized the Australian Treasury after they found $64 million routed to 9 senior Australian ministers for the purpose of destroying Australian domestic farming so as to create a food shortage. 2. A plan to block the global currency reset. 3. A plan to deploy the military against their own Australian citizens if the global restoration plan was announced. On twos. July 7, 2026 it was French President Emmanuel Macron who was given the ultimatum of 24 hours to surrender his keys to the Provisional Military Civilian Council, or he would be charged with treason under the Emergency Maritime Codes. The French Directorate General for Internal Security had found Macron looting the nation's gold reserves to bail out the deep state. 1. Within hours of the global currency reset going live, Macron authorized €89 billion in physical assets be moved out of the country to hidden offshore accounts. 2. Macron then authorized a controlled shutdown of the grid to erase the digital footprints of the theft. 3. Macron was working with 14 European central bankers who run the debt slavery matrix. They were tied to blackmail operations that have been used to keep European leaders in line for a decade. July 7, 2026 The Ligerian command has just initialized. Paris is in absolute outage within 12 hours, emergency broadcast system on Telegram. President Emmanuel Macron has vanished from the Élysée Palace grid. The state broadcasters are frantically cycling pre-recorded footage of his past addresses, claiming he is in an undisclosed strategic security consultation. Bullshit. General Thierry Beauregard, head of the French Armed Forces, just updated his encrypted military network profile with a single symbol, the Cross of Lorraine, flipped upside down, the historical code for the total termination of a corrupt regime. The classified data packets are already flooding the European Patriot underground, and the major news networks are in a state of absolute catatonia, waiting for broadcast scripts from an administrative hub that has been completely liquidated. This is the raw, unedited telemetry extracted during the tactical raid on the Central Command vaults beneath the Ministry of the Armed Forces in Paris last night. A coordinated operation between the European White Hat Division and elements of the Foreign Legion initiated a forced physical breach of the French central bank's digital routing system. They did not come with legal petitions. They came with absolute operational execution warrants. What they pulled from the mainframe was the definitive blueprint for the manufactured chaos of Western Europe. The Military Tribunal Command has categorized the intercepted data into 3 terminal zones of high treason to prevent any further political manipulation. Operational Zone: the Mediterranean Black Budgets. Encrypted wire logs from late June 2026 expose a dark pool financial network that routed over €112 million from the French public treasury straight into private accounts in Zurich and Luxembourg. The objective: to fund the upcoming artificial energy grid shutdowns in southern Europe, designed to trigger a forced rationing system and weaponize the cost of living against the sovereign population. Operational Zone: the Brussels Disconnect. Classified internal comms from July 3 reveal that Macron's inner cabinet was working on a secret emergency decree to bypass the mandatory ISO 20022 asset-backed banking migration. They were preparing a total systemic freeze of all private French commercial banks to trap public liquidity, with the explicit plan to blame a hostile state cyber offensive to cover up the massive insolvency of the Eurozone. Operational Zone: the Maritime Arrest Warrants, the final red line. Macron's personal authorization was found on a classified security annex outlining the active deployment of foreign mercenary groups against French citizens if public unrest spiraled out of control following the collapse of the financial sector. The alliance indictments have been unsealed. The flight paths over Paris are completely frozen. Corporate politicians are not leaving the sector, they are being systematically processed. The president was intercepted by 4 high-ranking officers at a private airfield outside Paris. There was no political diplomacy on the table, no backroom compromise. He was given a binary choice: sign the immediate, unconditional devolution of administrative authority to the Military Civilian Restoration Council, or step into a tactical transport bound directly for maritime legal processing. The political infrastructure in Paris is in a state of unedited, total panic. They are looking at the tactical countdown, and the counter is at 0. The UK is gone. Canada is clean. Australia is secured. Tonight, France is being rebooted from the core. G2s. July 7, 2026, Urgent Protocol, Corporate Lockout active global-wide. The corporate panopticon is officially breaking down, and the shockwaves from the BlackRock liquidation are hitting the global venture capital hubs like a Category 5 hurricane. 3 hours after the initial server seizure, the boardrooms in New York, London, and Tokyo are in a state of absolute, unedited terror because their access codes no longer communicate with the global ledger. The algorithms they use to manipulate public perception, control the legacy media outlets, and engineer fake inflation numbers have been completely overridden by the new quantum system protocols. Every fraudulent corporate claim over public utilities, water rights, and family homesteads is being declared legally null and void under natural justice mandates. The mainstream networks are frantically trying to stage a massive global tech glitch narrative to explain why corporate trading networks and banking backends are freezing up behind the scenes. They are terrified because they cannot hide a structural collapse of this magnitude from the waking masses. The asset pools that used to fund the deep state control mechanisms are already being redirected into the secure sovereign distribution channels for the Tier 4B liquidity vaults. They designed the matrix to be inescapable, ensuring that every single hour of your hard labor paid for their corporate debt machine until the end of time. But the machine just lost its power supply, the titles are being cleansed in real time, and the old world is out of broadcast range. Open your eyes. The corporate empire is offline tonight. Now it's French President Emmanuel Macron who was given the ultimatum of 24 hours to surrender the keys to the Provisional Military Civilian Council, or he would be charged with treason under the Emergency Maritime Codes. The French Directorate General for Internal Security had found Macron looting the nation's gold reserves to bail out the deep state. 1. Macron authorized €89 billion in physical assets be moved out of the country to hidden offshore accounts within hours of the global currency reset going live. 2. Macron authorized a controlled shutdown of the grid to erase the digital footprints of the theft. 3. Macron was working with 14 European central bankers who run the debt slavery matrix. They were tied to blackmail operations that have been used to keep European leaders in line for a decade. Macron was calling for an emergency transition of power. 2 weeks ago, under the radar, the French Directorate General for Internal Security, DGSI, picked up encrypted servers running through the central banking apparatus of Paris. It was not politics. It was about outright looting of the nation's sovereign gold reserves to bail out a collapsing fiat dark pool. Operation Triskelion was launched by White Hats in the French military command on June 29. What they found in those sealed quantum logs made his survival impossible. I am told that the classified DGSI dossier handed over to the military high command on July 1 contains 3 catastrophic categories of evidence. Category A, direct ledger sign-offs from Macron's inner cabinet authorizing the movement of €89 billion in physical assets out of the country to hidden offshore accounts within hours of the financial system migration going live. Signatures. Black budgets. Category B, interception of satellite communications from Paris to old WEF communication nodes, mapping a controlled shutdown of the grid to erase the digital footprints of the theft. Starlink command logged and passed to Alliance 30th of June, 2026. Category C, the secret list. 14 European central bankers who run the whole debt slavery matrix. The files tie them directly to the blackmail operations that have been used to keep European leaders in line for a decade. The mainstream media is trying to spin the narrative, but the panic in Brussels is real. Elon Musk just posted a clock emoji. He knows about the timeline. He's seen the data packets. This is not a French crisis. This is the European cabal being destroyed structurally, piece by piece. UK dropped on Monday. France is coming apart tonight. And the panic is moving west. Next, watch Canada. Justin Trudeau is staring at a blank wall. Sunday, July 5, 2026, 1740 EST Intel transmission. The global proxy war you see on the news is a coordinated theatrical distraction. While the masses are focused on standard border disputes, the true financial and biological command centers of the deep state are being systematically dismantled. The master matrix doesn't run from Washington or Beijing. It runs through a highly encrypted, multi-generational banking network that connects Wuhan straight to the Khazarian operations in Israel. My military intelligence sources have just decrypted the back-end routing logs from the primary biotech mainframes. The lines are undeniable. Big Pharma's deepest black budget operations in Wuhan were never controlled by China. They were entirely funded and directed by the Khazarian faction operating behind the shield of Tel Aviv. Look at the unannounced flight patterns and absolute communication blackouts over specific high-security zones in the Middle East right now. The White Hat Alliance High Command didn't just target the central banks, they have officially breached the central servers that hold the DNA-targeted tracking codes and patent logs. The narrative controllers are in absolute panic because their primary biological leverage over humanity has just been neutralized. Every blackmail file, every synthetic virus blueprint, and every private ledger tracking the corrupt funds that flowed between Western pharmaceutical giants and Eastern production facilities is now in the hands of the alliance commanders. The financial collapse was Phase 1. The total exposure of the biological handlers is Phase 2. The old world order has completely lost its transmission range. iTunes. July 7, 2026. Boom. The secrets of Greenland and Venezuela exposed. Super soldiers are no longer a theory. Hello Silver. The final phase has begun. Patriots, the veil has just been torn in the last 48 hours. What was dismissed as a conspiracy theory has now been confirmed by multiple Tier 1 sources within the alliance. 10 days of darkness aren't coming, they've already begun for them. The blackout they are seeing in Europe right now. That's not network issues. That's the quantum system blocking SWIFT forever. Hold the line tighter than ever. Biggest week in human history began yesterday when Silver Moons, VR explodes, med beds go public, and the emergency broadcasting system finally tells the world what really happened. The storm has landed. The kids are free. The cabal is bankrupt. God wins. NCSIC, nothing can stop what is coming. Possible timing, Friday, July 3, 2026, Jazara/Nizara Protocols broadcast, all mortgages, credit cards and student loans linked to usury were frozen for liquidation. Saturday, July 4, 2026, behind closed doors the new quantum financial system has been infiltrating the cabal's old SWIFT fiat currency infrastructure. Account freezes were real and the military has been positioned for final transition. Also on July 4, 2026 at 11:12 UTC with the military tribunals begun. Quantum financial keys overrode the legacy mainframe of the Vatican Bank and the assets of the corrupt were seized and redistributed to the Humanity Reclamation Fund. Every citizen would soon be allocated a secure digital vault backed by physical gold. On Sunday 5 July at 6:13 a.m. EST Operation Mass Arrest 0705 began. 847 federal judges, 456 CIA officials, 234 senators/congressmen and 678 FBI officials arrested. Global liquidity release. On Tuesday, July 7, 2026, a worldwide debt jubilee and RV of currencies to gold/asset-backed activates. Law enforcement shifts to natural law protections under concepts of the original Constitution. The revaluation, RV, of 209 countries' currencies to be gold/asset-backed comes fully alive. Debt jubilee activation begins for those whose accounts have been cleared. July 7, 2026, Nizara/Jazara full activation. The Great Debt Wipeout begins. The final red pill on Telegram, one of the cabal's biggest banks, gone. Doors sealed at midnight, assets frozen, executives vanished into military custody. No statement. No explanation. Just silence. Underground vaults breached, trillions in hidden gold/securities seized from Rothschild/Rockefeller networks. The hidden wealth system is collapsing and your value is being restored. Christian B. Wallace. For decades, a structure operated behind the surface of everyday life, a system built not to serve you, but to extract value from you. What you believed were ordinary documents, like a birth certificate or a social security number, were actually entries in a financial mechanism you were never meant to access or understand. This system was called the Sestuike Trust, created the moment you were born. Your certificate of live birth wasn't just a record, it was a securitized bond. Your name was converted into a corporate identity, a tradable asset used as collateral across global markets. Your labor, your future earnings, even your legal existence were quietly monetized without your consent. But that world is ending. Under the Nizara/Jazara framework and the rise of the quantum financial system, QFS, the hidden wealth extracted from generations is being traced, audited, and prepared for return. The QFS is not a bank. It is a biometric, quantum ledger structure that identifies every fraudulent transaction attached to your strawman identity and reverses it. This transition does not simply reset currency. It restores sovereignty. Your name is not a corporation. Your identity is not collateral. Your value was never theirs to take. Forensic audits uncovered in military tribunals show how governments, banking institutions, and foreign exchanges traded hidden trust funds tied to millions of citizens. These trusts, often worth vast amounts, were leveraged, borrowed against, and quietly transferred through international settlement systems. The public was never informed, and no permission was ever asked. QFS changes that permanently. It records every stolen ledger entry, every hidden bond, every artificial debt placed on your legal fiction. And when activation is complete, your access will come through biometric QFS wallets linked directly to your DNA and frequency signature. This eliminates identity theft, banking control, or any third party standing between you and what is yours. Projected restitution amounts, based on age and trust history, are already aligned with QFS protocols. Individuals born before 1964, eligible balances exceeding $60 million. Individuals born 1964 to 1980, approximately $37 million. Individuals born 1981 to 2001, approximately $22 million, with pathways for legacy expansion. These are not gifts. They are repayments. Repayments for decades of unlawful taxation. Repayments for generational extraction. Repayments for value taken through a system you never agreed to enter. As the transition nears full activation, quantum vaults are sinking, legal structures are collapsing, and the old system, built on debt and deception, is losing its final leverage. You won't hear this from the media, and traditional banks cannot confirm what is outside their control. But the truth remains, you were never poor. Your value was hidden. And now, it is being returned. Stay observant. The structure that once owned your identity is dissolving, and a sovereign financial world is emerging in its place. Guru Information and Intel, P2s. July 7, 2026, Trump and his administration's focus on patriotism and American pride is not just for show. Trump and the U.S. Mill are counteracting the decades of psychological demoralization and subversion inflicted by the left/MSM. The deep state used their control of media to intentionally degrade and destroy American pride, along with our culture, our beliefs, our religion, our institutions, our history, our food supply, our schools, everything. Why did they do this? Because the deep state were attempting to conquer this nation from within, and they legitimately fear the American spirit and the Second Amendment. The deep state accurately view the American people as the most formidable people on earth to conquer, not just because of our weapons, but because of our pride in our nation, and our willingness to fight and die for it. The American people are standing in the way of their plan to implement a one-world government. The enemies of humanity know that the American people will not willingly let globalism and tyranny take hold, so the deep state attempted to psychologically destroy the American spirit, so we would be easier to fully conquer when the time came, which was going to be during Hillary's term, but Trump won and ruined their 16-year plan. This is why the Dems and their voters are openly anti-American. They have been brainwashed and conditioned for years to hate America, because the deep state intend to replace our nation with something else. So this Independence Day, and all days moving forward, I'm asking my fellow Americans to make a conscious effort to show and restore our nation's pride, because it is quite literally a matter of national security. Evil forces are attempting to conquer us from within, and they are targeting our patriotism, because they view it as a threat. Do not let them succeed. Never let them convince you this land is not worth fighting. July 7, 2026 Vinted caught running massive pedophile ring using Pizzagate code words. This is the biggest expose of 2026, and the pedophile elite are desperate to bury it. Online investigators have ripped the lid off something monstrous. Amazon and Vinted are letting veiled advertisements for children flood their platforms. This is Pizzagate 2.0. The new phase, bolder, more shameless, and hiding in plain sight on apps you use every day. Twos. July 7, 2026, on December 8, 2016, Obama ordered a rewrite of the IC assessment to frame Donald Trump. Obama gave the green light, Brennan and his CIA did the dirty work. Brennan's own handwritten notes prove that there was in fact a plan from Hillary Clinton to vilify Donald Trump with Russia collusion. Among many other emails, notes, and files, 5 CIA analysts wrote the ICA, presenting a draft to JA by the 22nd of December. Brennan's CIA was the lead drafter, in coordination with the FBI and NSA. Sedition and treason was committed at the highest levels of government. There is no escape from the truth, Pastor Bob Joyce. Twos. July 7, 2026, Trump unveils new 100 bill as globalist financial system collapses. Twos. July 7, 2026, elite pedophile judge Tim Nolan heads to Gitmo. Twos. July 7, 2026, Trump tribunals launched. Twos. July 7, 2026, Biden dead, meet the clone actor in the greatest lie ever sold to America. T2s. July 7, 2026, the CIA and USAID playbook for the LA riots. Classified documents have been uncovered that reveals how the CIA plans out and sets off riots to destabilize governments. As for civil unrest here in the U.S., Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem claimed on Monday that demonstrators in Los Angeles were being paid and that the ongoing riots were part of a professional operation. These are organized. These are people that are being paid to do this. You can follow how they behave, the signals they give to each other in these crowds and these protests to instigate violence, Kristi Noem. Noem claimed the Trump administration now has evidence that the Los Angeles riots are an organized plot against the U.S. government but did not reveal what they had found out. These declassified documents were recently brought to light that protesters in Los Angeles were being paid thousands of dollars to riot against the Trump administration. In a 92-page playbook written in 1983, officials mapped out how they would pay criminals and other agitators to ramp up anger among ethnic minorities and students with the goal of having them riot in the streets. The secret CIA dossier exposes its playbook for hiring professional protesters to start violent riots which are then used to topple and take over governments. This is Operation Gladio, and it's been going on for decades. USAID explicitly organized riots then blocked even the CIA's top analyst in Congress from asking questions. The peaceful protest facade is just a mask for a planned, and highly funded, color revolution on our own government. The JFK files showed and exposed the secret CIA dossier and their playbook for hiring professional protesters to start violent riots. Mass propaganda, political/psychological warfare, biological warfare, global media control, regime change, etc. There's so many obvious connections from back then to now which expose exactly how they do it, while they continue doing it today. It's the same dog doing the same tricks, and the majority of it is from taxpayer dollars in the form of humanitarian aid. This is why USAID and other programs were so important to them, to be exposed to show the people, and to shut off their money machine. The CIA document, declassified in 2023, explained how agents would take control and organize mass gatherings and steer them towards violence against governments believed to be acting against the interests of the U.S. intelligence community. The control of mass meetings in support of guerrilla warfare is carried out internally through a covert commando element, bodyguards, messengers, shock troops, incident initiators, poster carriers, also used to give signals, and slogan shouters, all under the control of the external commando element, CIA officials wrote. Intelligence officials broke down this plot into several steps, starting with a front organization. Guerrillas infiltrate groups like labor unions or student organizations, secretly controlling them to push anti-government ideas. U2s. July 7, 2026 Pentagon rebranded to Department of War. Military takeover official. Deep state military purged. July 5, 2026, 10:45 a.m. EST. According to the report, after the House Armed Services Committee approved a $1.15 trillion defense bill, Pentagon sources claim Operation Department of War 0705 has officially begun. The report alleges that the Pentagon is being rebranded as the Department of War, describing the move as the beginning of a complete military restructuring. Supporters of the report claim the rebranding signals direct military control over federal institutions, expanded wartime authority, the removal of what they describe as deep state military officials, and the appointment of a new generation of patriotic commanders. According to the report, this marks the official start of a new military command structure. The report also claims that the newly approved $1.15 trillion defense package is intended to fund large-scale military operations, expand military infrastructure, strengthen intelligence capabilities, and support future military tribunals. According to the claims, the funding will also be used for global deployments and the restructuring of military facilities. Another major development highlighted in the report is the meeting between Israeli Defense Minister Dan Katz and Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Kane at the Pentagon. According to the report, the meeting represents expanded military coordination between allied nations, including cooperation on operations in the Middle East and broader international military planning involving dozens of countries. The report further alleges that a large-scale purge of military and intelligence personnel is already underway. It claims that 847 military officers, 234 Pentagon officials, 456 intelligence personnel, and 678 military contractors have been removed or detained as part of what supporters describe as an effort to eliminate corruption and restructure the defense establishment. According to the report, the operation has progressed through multiple phases, beginning with intelligence gathering and covert surveillance, followed by coordinated extractions, federal restructuring, and what it describes as global military reform. The report claims the current stage represents the transition into the Department of War phase. Supporters quoted in the report argue that the alleged restructuring has triggered panic among deep state officials, claiming military leadership has now assumed full control while arrests and investigations continue. The report concludes by describing this as the beginning of the final phase of a broader military operation, asserting that the previous system has come to an end and that a new military order is now taking shape.
Unleashing them. So we got Glitch Mitch. They're gonna make a clone of him. It kind of sounds like they are. So we have to watch and see how this drama plays out with Glitch. We're seeing his wife. Is she being exposed as a Chinese spy? So there's a lot of stuff going on right now. So we see President Trump. He's speaking with the NATO Nazis, and they're doing what Nazis do. They want to destroy the world. So they want to give money to Ukraine so they can destroy a peaceful group of people, the Russians, right, who used to be the Tartarians, who were destroyed by this evil cabal long ago. So we're definitely, you think he's going to be 100% cloned? I think so. Because I've been saying for a little bit now that Mitch, where's Mitch? And this yesterday, there's several people that came out. Laura Logan, not Laura Logan. Anyway, a couple of people came out and said, "Hey, Mitch is brain dead. We get it from reliable sources." So I'm like, yeah, I kind of thought that was happening. So, and now they're saying that he is got. He's talking to like senators and so forth. He's doing well. He's like catching up on stuff. I'm like, gosh, wow. So once he's called out, then they're calling out his wife for not being with him, and she went to China. So I mean, imagine your loved one is. Would you run off to a foreign country? You'd be there by their side, right? But yeah, she went to China. They called her back, and they want to have her report and give her new instructions, right? So it's funny how these things are starting to work out now. Now, President Trump, like I said, is calling out the Nazis. He's not fond of them, so he's there in Ankara, in Turkey, and talking to them and telling them that they're all pieces of shit.
Troop drawdowns in Europe likely? And are you satisfied with the progress that NATO allies have
Well,
made?
we're going to see. I was very disappointed with NATO. And frankly, if it weren't held in Turkey, where my friend happens to be a very strong leader, a very strong person, it's possible that I wouldn't have attended. I felt I had to attend because of the fact that, I know he's gone all out. It was a big.
Now, President Trump has gone there, and they're selling F-35s, which are extremely advanced aircraft, to Turkey. Now, we know that Turkey, a couple of years ago, had a very suspect earthquake, back-to-back earthquakes, just like we just saw in Venezuela, very suspect. And, they're getting pressure from the deep state for some reason. And so President Trump is going to give them aircraft that will help protect them, I guess. And there's people within our military, deep state, that are speaking out about that. So watch who speaks out about this, right? So this is a positive thing that's happening, but you're going to see some naysayers. I've already started to see them online.
Thing to have NATO come to Turkey or any place else. It's a big thing. But we weren't treated well because we did something in Iran. We don't need anybody's help. I didn't even want their help. But
so interestingly, after he made these comments, trashing NATO, then their NATO's puppet in Iran started attacking ships in the Hormuz Strait. How about that? Breaking the peace plan. So it's all tied together. That's why no one in Europe would help us, United States, take out this incredibly evil terrorist organization that's running Iran, has been for 47 years. Should have been taken down right from the get-go. But, they're allowed to, take over. And, Jimmy Carter was the president when they took over. He was a puppet of the deep state. And he did nothing. Of course, he did nothing. He was part of the problem, talking bad about the Shah. And then forces took him down. So we'll see. We'll see how this all works out. But, you go against President Trump, usually it does not work out for you.
Before I asked, they said they wouldn't be there. And we've invested trillions of dollars in NATO. Why? To protect European countries and others, Canada, etc., but to protect people, countries from generally.
Protect Canada. Kind of toss that in there. Canada, for the last 2 years, has more people leaving, and their birth rate is not keeping up. So they've actually had a population decrease in Canada for the last 2 years.
Speaking, it used to be the Soviet Union, now it's Russia. And I say that's fine, but you would think that they'd be very willing to do something to help us. And they really weren't. In the case of the United Kingdom, the prime minister, I guess he's no longer there, maybe because of this. It was a very unpopular thing he did. He said, no, we'll help after the war is over. I said, I don't need that kind of help. We didn't need any help at all. And in a way, I was testing people. I was testing to see whether or not they'd be there, because I've long said that we help them, but I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. And Italy turned us down.
See, it sounds like he's saying that he tested them. to see if they would help. And they didn't help. So what do you think happens now? He tested them to see if they would help. And we've given trillions to them over the years, bases, agreements, all these different things. And the militaries of Europe are trashed because they've depended on the U.S. Of course, they've had this illegal immigration because they're falling birth rates as well, because wokesters don't have children. And that's happening in the U.S. Wokesters are basically taking themselves out. Right? So we don't have to do it. I like that. Now, those of us that are conservative are still having lots of babies, right? Just as many as before. But because the wokesters are, not having babies anymore, I don't know, maybe their sex changes and everything else they're having, they can't have babies. So that is leading to population decline in America. Now in Europe, same thing. They have had, they've tried to balance that by shipping in these illegal aliens. Yes, there's multiple reasons why they do the things they do. So there is, a birth imbalance that's happening, and I'm cool with that because we're taking out the leftist communist. Communism is back in, I think, 1954, they voted it to be illegal. Communism is illegal. The Communist Control Act of 1954 makes membership in the Communist Party illegal for U.S. politicians, prohibiting them from serving in certain representative capacities, right? So that's some of the stuff we're starting to see is being revealed. I think that, eventually these guys are going to go, they're just going to raid their offices. Due to the Communist Control Act of 1954, you're being arrested and for treason to the United States, and you will go to Guantanamo where you will be tried and executed, right? So I don't know, maybe that's in Mike's world. I don't know if that really is going to happen, but we'll see.
And Germany turned us down, and France turned us down. And it's okay. But, why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars and they're not there for us? We've always been there for them.
Why? Why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars? I think we're not going to in the future. So I think this is, and that's why Iran broke out again. All right, so we're seeing that kicking off, firing up again. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but let's look at Glitch and what's going on with him. Now, his wife is Chinese, and there's some interesting things that have been shared about that. So Elaine Chao is his wife. Sequence of events that has fueled intense public scrutiny and questions about timing, transparency, and official disclosures. Agreed on a new vision of a constructive China-U.S. relationship of strategic stability. So this is McConnell. His office statement is that he just continues to improve, right? So his clone is in the making. Just stand by. We'll have him out again soon. McConnell suffers cardiac arrest, CPR in progress, advanced life support dispatched to his DC home. Now, there was a reporter that went to his DC home and talked to one of his neighbors, and his neighbor said that she had not seen, since the ambulance arrived and took him away, that she has not seen anyone come to the home. Now, this is his DC home, right? So obviously, he has another home in Kentucky, and I guess Elaine Chao has probably, because her daddy is very, very wealthy, shipping magnate for China. And I guess she probably has homes in China too. So she's there in China. While her husband is unconscious, I guess, I don't know. she knows that maybe China's making the clone, and she's there to pick it up. Elaine Chao meets with Chinese Vice President Han Xing in Beijing. Chinese embassy statement. Both leaders agreed on a new vision of a constructive China-U.S. relationship of strategic stability. Embassy of the People's Republic of China, United States. Information blackout. McConnell's office maintains near total information blackout, no diagnosis, no prognosis, just continues to improve. No comment, no details, no answers. Silence is the message. Right? EMS audio released. Office finally issues milquetoast statement after independent journalist Desiree Townsend releases EMS audio. Office finally issues statement. So I guess they figured that, like all politicians, if you just ignore them, they'll go away. Right? So it didn't work out. Leader McConnell is receiving excellent medical care and continues to improve. The questions are allowed, the answers are not. So I think they're cloning McConnell. And so W.R. Schock wrote in my X post, says, yes, Special Forces found clones in an underground cloning lab in Yukon, Alaska, of McConnell, AOC, Pelosi, Iliad, whoever this, Newscum, and other prominent parasites. Right? They have multiple avatars backed up for all their key positions. Once cloned, they get RC chipped. All right. So I don't know. Maybe that's not real. Maybe it is. So I'm not. I don't have any dog in that fight. Right. So I'm just making observations. Right. So is he going to come back as a clone? I kind of got that a couple, like when I remote viewed him and I saw he was bye-bye, I saw that they were working on a clone for him. Right, so maybe now that's been exposed and we're all talking about it, they're like, damn it. That Jaco, he always dimes us out and we can't do this stuff. Right, so, all right, we'll see though. I think they're going to bring out a clone, right? So, just like Mark Twain, the rumors of my demise are exaggerated. He's going to come out and say that. So, I don't know. We'll see. It's fun. It's fun to show them being stupid. Now, being stupid, you have to be careful with stuff that's out there, guys. And I've already tried to correct a couple people here now. Now, let's look at this. Now, James Woods, he posts some really, really good stuff. Now, this says, you're looking at this picture. Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan demand churches stop ringing bells on Sunday. Community, this is a Muslim majority town, and you have to respect us. According to Sharia, church bells cannot be louder than our Islamic call to prayer. Now, let's look at these. Oh, is that a cross there? So that's not what Muslims wear. That's not what Muslims wear. And this guy's holding a cross. And these guys have some interesting beards, don't they? They have some very interesting beards. There's another cross back there. So now if you look at Eastern Orthodox Christians, they look like this. The priests look like this. All right, Mr. James Woods. So this is part of the disinformation that's running around out there, guys. So if you post this, you look like a dumbass because these are Eastern Orthodox Christians, and they love church bells. They love them, and they ring loudly wherever they can, where the Eastern Orthodox are, right? So be careful out there. So I posted this picture of Eastern Orthodox Christians. This is a picture of Christian Orthodox Christians who love bells. So everybody's making comments about Islam. So everybody's going to look stupid when they find out this is East, or they probably don't care, right? nobody's commented on my post. They don't care, right? Hey, we're just going off on Muslims. So then that's where it gets flipped back on us, guys. We start to look stupid, and then people don't make the comments which need to be made about the problem with Islam in America and in Europe. So again, if you're going to post something, do your due diligence and look and see. I mean, I looked at this and I'm like, those are, I saw it right away. I was like, that's Eastern Orthodox. What Christians, priests, what are you saying? Yep, it's, and they did that with 9/11. They, those of us that were pointing some stuff out, they would fly a plane and it looked like it was flying, through buildings and some kind of crap. And then those of us, see, we're making, see, we told you. And this was years afterwards, because we're saying all those aircraft, that was all bullshit. And then they came out and they showed where, there was some kind of reflection or something like that. And we all looked like dumbasses. This is what they do. All right. They being probably the CIA. I don't know. That's my take on it. So just be careful out there. This disinformation is going to continue to run amok. So I amuse myself by my language sometimes. All right, so let's look at what's going on in the Gulf. It's so funny. Trump strikes Iran following Hormuz attacks. So again, the timing of these attacks are very suspect to me. Right? The NATO being called out and then Iran attacks. And U.S. military, we got to get involved now, right? Because they did stupid. Trump has been, only on the weekends normally, because the stock market is going to probably react very negatively, as it did a little bit today when this was starting to leak out. Before the close, stock market was down. And so we'll have to see what happens tomorrow, if they can clean this up overnight. I don't think so, but we'll see. U.S. military announced Tuesday evening. They like to do this after the stock market, and they prefer to do it on the weekends. That's when these usually happen. But because it's a 7/7 date, and NATO's meeting, the NATO Nazi satanic Luciferians. So the Satanists, remember, are Luciferian wannabes. So the very top of the food chain and the evil psychopaths realm, where once they reach these higher levels, 33-degree Mason, all that kind of bullshit, these guys have to do sacrifices and eat children and drink blood of children. It's like adrenochrome. It's what they do, right? So, they've been called out by a lot of us, and the Russians called them out. Vladimir Putin, about a year ago, says this is the end of the vampires, right? So I guess he went. Was it after he talked to Trump? Did they make a deal? We're going to take out the vampires now? Right? Maybe, right? Maybe that's why Mitch is gone. I don't know. Or maybe he's not. So we'll see. If he comes back, I'm like, that's obviously a clone. They're trying to expose this stuff, right? So it's or maybe they're dragging it out for some reason, which remains to be seen. Some very catastrophic event, because we know they have that up their sleeve. They want to bring on some catastrophe. That's the way they play the games. So they're launching a series of powerful strikes against Iran in retaliation for Iranian attacks on 3 commercial vessels. It wasn't one, because before it was one, and they did a little strike, a little slap in the face. Stop it, spanky. All right, whatever. So when they had 3 of them, and I guess they attacked Bahrain or one of those places. Somebody got attacked. And so Trump is like, okay, we got all these targets. Let's start hitting them. Let's hit them hard, right? And that's what we're doing right now. So this happened at 5:15 Eastern time. So after the bell, right? 4:30, right? 4 o'clock, 4:30, whatever it is. No, it's 4 o'clock. Or is it 5? I don't know. I forget. So it's like 1 o'clock, I think it's 1 o'clock on my time. So that makes it 4. Yeah, it's 4. So it starts at 9:30 and then it goes to 4. All right. So, they're going to start trading like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the only thing right now that trades 24/7. And soon they're going to trade gold and I think oil at 24 hours for 5 days. So during the trading week. Then eventually it's going to go to 7 days, 24/7. And then the stock market also is supposed to go at some point 24/5 and then 24/7, right? Boy, those stock market crashes are going to be brutal. Right? So they're going to just last. They're going to go fast. They'll be all day long. Usually at the end of the bell, 4 o'clock, then if everything's been selling off like crazy, they get a break and everybody gets to take a breath and, reassess. Now it's going to be just like fall. And then those people that, won't be able to trade, when it does come back around the world and they get to trade again, oh my God, it's going to be bad. So these things are coming. It will be, monumental having 24/7 trading. But in the meantime, they try and do these attacks so they don't make a big impact on the stock market, right? So that's what we're seeing right now. So the memorandum of understanding, the MOU, signed last month because it's what it is. It's a piece of shit, cow shit, right? Signed last month, lay the groundwork for fully reopening the strait, which Iran effectively closed shortly after the war began. The MOU says Iran will work with Oman to define the future administration. It's all bullshit. It didn't happen. I said it was bullshit. I said there's going to be boots on the ground when this all started. It hasn't happened yet, but I think it's going to happen still, right? And that's the only way this is going to end. And then everybody's going to cry and whine. I think it's happened as long as it has to get people to the understanding that, hey, we need to take these mofos out, right? So they're out of control. They're part of the Nazi organization like NATO, and we just have to take all these Nazi organizations out. The world's not going to be a safe, happy place without them gone, right? So that's what we're looking at. So you want to be happy, right? You want to be safe. You can't have Nazis running the show. You can't have that. They had to be taken out. Hopefully you guys understand that. All right. The Treasury Department revoked a license Tuesday. So this is going full speed ahead, right? Like we say in the Navy, full speed ahead, and ramming speed and all that stuff. That was a little bit further back, like during Greek days, whatever. All right. So Tuesday, that had authorized the sale. So our Treasury Department authorized that sale. That's interesting how that worked out. And when is the Treasury Department going to invoke the new currency, the gold-backed currency? Come on, let's take this. Let's go full Monty on everything. So that's after the country fired missiles on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. The department approved the 60-day license last month, which waived sanctions on Iranian oil as part of an interim agreement to end the fighting in the Middle East. So now the MOU is gone. No more MOU. MOU. Cow shit, right? All the cow shit's done, right? Now we're gonna hammer them. But there are good things that are happening. And one of those is they're starting to turn against each other. Right? So these guys are such clowns. And we used to do this. When I was in the CIA, we used to like take out baddies, terrorists, and they were like turned against each other, trying to figure out who was telling, right? So, we had some really good people that were telling on them, right? Yeah, they're going to be here this time. So, and make sure when you do the missile strike, you do it before he gets out of the car, because it happened one time where they were waiting to see if it was really him. So he got out of the car, then they shot the missile, and it hit the car and blew up. And he was walking through the gate by then, and he got some damage. All of his protective detail were taken out, and he got some shrapnel, but he lived. So it was so funny. The terrorist that we were working with, it's like what's that, double agent? Guess he was double agent, right? So he was hanging out with them, but he was talking to us. So he was a double agent. And so we got in the car after we failed to kill the terrorist leader. It was a religious leader, an imam, right? So he's like going, get them all riled up, and they all loved him. And then he go talk to the terrorists in the province, and they do attacks, and he go back and talk to the people. They get them all riled up, and on Friday, they go out and like riot. It's like, God, what? Pakistan, crazy people, wacky packies. So this terrorist gets in the car, and he was a big boy. And in the early days, I'd have to give him a hug, before he got in the car, make sure he didn't have a blow up vest on. It's like, okay, I get to be the pink mist and not you guys. So, but he was a good guy. He was a Taliban guy. He was a big boy. So we were buds, so I'd hug him, and he'd get in the car, and I like check his legs, make sure he didn't have a gun in his socks or anything like that. And so he was good. He was always good. And he started saying, "Why do you guys always have to do this?" And after a while, we stopped. I was like, well, that's when they usually come in and blow themselves up. So I don't know. So he started working with another group that was in another area. All right, that's all I can say about that. But he got in the car, and he's like, "You got to shoot the missile before he gets out of the car." It's like, and I'm thinking in my mind, it's like, God, what a bunch of whack nuts these CIA controllers are, because they want to be in control of everything, and it's brutal common sense for somebody that knows how to blow people up, like myself. Demo guy, and I used to call in fire, and I used to do a lot of firing and all that kind of stuff, and shoot missiles myself. Well, not missiles, RPGs. So anyway, I'm like, God, what the hell? All the work we did, exposing, because it's freaking dangerous work. Because you got the ISI, which is the Pakistani security force, CIA equivalent, which is always watching, and so we had to be very careful. The movement had to be per certain way. Pickup points, were different, and we had to clean ourselves. So I would drive sometimes, and you have to drive for an hour to make sure you clean, and then you come in, you pick the guy up at a certain time, and it's pretty brilliant, all the stuff they do. But this guy getting in and saying, you guys are like not saying it, but he was pissed because, I don't know, maybe he was pissed because he wasn't going to his payoff. I don't know. But he got his payoff on that eventually. And he got his payoff on other ones. So he kept working. And it's pretty amazing guy, actually. He was a Taliban guy, and he fought against our troops. Right? So I don't know if he killed anybody, but he fought against us, and he got wounded. So he worked his wound for a long time. It's like, I can't go back out there because I'm still messed up. And so he was good, actually. And so he was working it, so yeah. And my brother, his business is doing really good. He's into, we made a business for his brother, which was a travel agency. So our boy would travel sometimes because his brother had a travel agency. He was traveling to meet people in CIA, of course. And so see how big this is. It's pretty cool, right? Hopefully I'm not getting myself in trouble exposing too much, but I don't think I am. I think that's all been in movies and everything. Everybody knows about this stuff. So anyway, I'm not saying name any names, pointing out any places or people, and I may or may not be lying about any of this. I may or may not know anything about this, but that's one of the things we say. So anyway, U.S. military taking it to these guys, right? And I guarantee that there are special forces guys, like I used to be, that are there in Iran, and they're working with groups. And also, we've seen up in the northwest corner of Iran, in Iraq, we have the Peshmerga, who I used to work with too when I was in Iran, the northern part, the Kurds. So the Peshmerga, really amazing fighters, right? So they're assassinating IRGC, the Iranian, knuckleheads that are basically running Iran now. They're turning against their political side. The military is basically killing. They're all turning against each other now, is turning against their political side. So let's watch this. This is 2C TV, and he's basically showing us what's happening in Iran. No, that's not the one. These are strikes on Iran. I'll show this 2C TV next. So it's not stopping, and he's going to continue. He's going to continue to basically destroy the deep state. Will we get more people that understand this and watch and get involved in this, like myself, informing people? Maybe. Now they're turning on each other. Like I said, I've seen this before. When things start to really fall apart, they start to turn against each other. Right? So that's kind of what we want. It's kind of like the leftists don't have babies. They're in revolt. Right? Men don't like leftist women, and women don't like leftist men. So it works out pretty good. So they're just going to cancel each other out over time, and we don't have any problems. Right? So be those of us that are conservative and we want a beautiful society, and our kids to grow up, without having to have sex changes, and have good education, not be, told that you got to support, Johnny and his sex change. And if you don't support that, like in Europe, there was a teacher that refused to identify a boy that was identifying as a girl. So she continued to identify him as a boy. So she got 700 days in prison. So, Europe has gone completely bonkers, right? And America would be completely bonkers too if Trump wasn't here, guys. So it is moving in the right direction, but of course it's going to take time. Now we'll probably see a lot of these people that are leftist just die out because they're the ones that really got on board with that. It's not going to work out so good for you guys, right? You're not gonna be able to go forward. So you're basically going to just extinguish yourselves, and don't get the shot either. Oh yeah, all you Democrats just lined up for that, didn't you? Yeah, because that's your boy saying don't worry, and he got sick like 2 or 3 times. All right, so of course that was a clone, so Joe Biden clone. So you guys didn't know that. All right. So he got the shot. He showed, I'm getting the shot. And then the clone died after that because the clone So that's what happens. Right? It's so funny. All right, so let's look at the weather. All right, so the weather, like I've talked about in a couple times now, is going to get really, really earthquakes and all, volcanoes, all that stuff is really going to start to intensify. And this is we've had several super typhoons that have spun up. We got one that's spinning up, is moving towards Taiwan. And then ultimately it's going to hit China. Now, this is the last typhoon that went in and hit China. And when these typhoons come in and hit China, boy, it like just devastates them because they haven't done a really good job of maintaining their environment. They've used their environment, and Earth is like FO, right? F around and you're going to find out, China, and they're finding out, all right? So you don't mess with Mother Nature, right? And Chinese are finding out what happens when you do. So they've had some devastating storms. Maybe there's been some help with that. I don't know. And not Nino Rodriguez, but El Nino. He's a good guy. All right, so El Nino is probably going to set records. I think it's going to be the hottest the Pacific has ever been. And my wife says that to me sometimes. Ever. It sounds pretty good when I say it too. So it is something that's really going to be devastating, I think, for America as well. Because when those, see how it's slowly like that, it turns like that, and then all of that weather comes to us. It comes to us, and there will be flooding in California, maybe all the way up. I think this is going to be so large. Normally, it stays a little bit further south, but I think this one is going to be so massive that it's going to go all the way up into Oregon, maybe as far as Washington. I don't know, Washington State. And then just flood everything all the way to the east, flooding. So everything's burning right now, especially in Colorado. Illegal immigrants are setting it. No, it's like direct energy weapons are setting them. So they're starting fires in Colorado. They love to set fires in Colorado. I don't know. Maybe that underground base under Denver Airport where all the reptilians are. Maybe they like it hot, it gets chilly and they don't like it. I don't know. So we'll have to ask them someday when we take them prisoner. So they're pretty ruthless. Yeah, they're big too. So we'll take them down eventually. Now we're seeing a lot of this weather. The next one that's coming for China is going to be just as big, if probably, and maybe even more devastating than the one you just saw. So this is the next one. Let me bring this up. So it is Mr. MBB 3333. He's got a nice report on this. So let's listen to him.
The slightest left-hand turn, it's going to go smack dab into Taiwan, where they have a population of 23 million people alone, and it's going to impact Taiwan in the form of rain and high winds, but it's just not going to make a direct landfall. At least that's what's being forecasted right now. That could change, and I'm talking it is super, super tight. In fact, Taiwan is in the cone. A little bit of steering to the left, it's going to go to Taiwan. Right now, it's anticipated to make landfall. I don't know how it's going to do this. It's going to drop from a Category 4, a strong Category 4, to a Category 2 as it makes landfall right in the middle of, where are we at here? Google Earth. Here we go. Populations of 10 million and 8 million plus, just a lot of people. This is a super densely populated area, as you can clearly see. Look at that. That's right where it's going, right into millions of people. So we're keeping an eye on that. That is a big, strong storm, and it means business. And I mean, it's loaded with moisture. This thing is super, super wet, and it's strong. It's a, again, very large storm that had, it just made a turn to the left. Did you see that? Right as we went to the page, it tilted to the left. Super typhoon, 150 mile an hour. That's a big storm. What?
Did you see that? It turned to the left. I can't do my voice like that. But he does a really good job of it. I like listening to him. He's like, he gets you all excited. It's like, wow, like, it's exciting. So it is getting interesting out there weather-wise. And, these deep staters, they're still going to play their games. The world could be, devastated, and they're still doing their stuff. All right. But we're calling them out. I think we're doing a pretty good job calling them out. Like Dolly Parton. So Dolly Parton. And we have to end with this one. All right. Because she's 80. She looks 80, doesn't she? All right. Clone? Anyone? So Dolly Parton asked Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce if she can have their first baby. Why would you want their first baby? Is that why you're so young? I don't know. But they donated $2 million to her. What's going on? Why Dolly Parton? Why Dolly Parton? Look at that. And her husband died several years back. I wonder what secrets he took to the grave, right? Is Dolly really a woman? I don't know. She never had kids. So the Jolene hitmaker added, the mission of the Dollywood Foundation is to dream more, care more, and have lots of kids that come to her amusement parks. Have any of them been disappearing there? Anyway, let's look at what's happening here. There is some signing that goes on, and it looks like some devil stuff. Let's watch.
Taylor and Travis, it's Dolly, and I was just told that you two are making a donation of $2 million to my imagination library. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm blown away and overjoyed with that gratitude. Now, it's evident that you two have made giving back a key part of your lives. So, hey, when you have your firstborn.
Oh, look at that devil sign. Oh, she made it. She did it. She did the devil sign right there, guys. So when you have that first kid, I want it.
I have it because that is going to be one special baby. The mission.
Why is she slurring? So anyway, they play their little games. They make their little signs at each other, and they talk their ridiculousness. So I don't know. Maybe Taylor Swift and Travis, they owe the deep state their first. Their firstborn. Right. And that's going to be very interesting to see if that actually happens. All right. Kind of like Glitch Mitch, walks back out. It's like, what? I'm cool, but yeah, I fell down. I got hurt myself, but that's all. Right. So, okay. And I guess, he was being wheelchaired around for a little bit. He would glitch pretty good. And his handlers, John Thune and a couple of other senators, would come up, when he started to talk a little bit, and they touch him. There's some place that they have on his arm. So they would come up and they grasp him, and he'd just go, boop. He glitched. He would glitch, and he'd just go quiet. And then they were like, yeah, Mitch, can you come this way? So they take him away. He was starting to reveal some stuff they didn't want him to reveal. So they shut him down. Somebody stepped in and touched him, and it's like, oh, whoop, turn him off. All right. And then he was falling down. He kept falling down. And some of these senators, I don't know, maybe they just get ornery and they don't want to play the game anymore. And they're like, you got to play the game. You got all these things that we gave you, all these millions, like Nancy Pelosi. She's not messing around. So how much has she made as a senator? As a congresswoman in her time? 3, 4, 5 million, who knows? But she's worth 300 million. So yeah, she's given a lot. She's done a lot for the deep state. So she can't just walk away, even though her husband is like a gay man and, gets drunk and runs over people and runs away thinking he can get away with that. It's just things are changing. We're getting wiser to their craziness and calling it out. And this is one of the things that really makes a difference, guys. Start to call it out, sharing videos like this. And, probably some of your friends are like, I watched the last video that guy did, and I don't believe any of that bullshit. But then you share another one. They're like, watch it at 333 and whatever number it is. And they watch that and they're like, so I've heard that before. And then the unwind starts. They wait. They're no longer woke. And then they actually get a girlfriend or boyfriend and have babies. So, there's hope for these people. I don't know. Not for all of them, but of course, because some of them have strayed too far, like Dolly wanting the firstborn. Right? I don't know. I don't know about that one, guys. That's pretty strange to me. And making that devil horn sign. Yeah. Okay, Dolly, we see it. And they don't care. They don't care. They're just going to do it. Dolly, she's 80. She doesn't care anymore. She's been playing a game. It doesn't matter to her anymore. I don't care. I don't care. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do my thing. Give me your firstborn, right? And well, what are you going to do with my firstborn? It's none of your business. I'm going to love them. I'm going to take them to Dollywood, and we're going to ride rides together, like Disney World and Disneyland and all that stuff. Right? All right, guys. Lots of love. Stay in the love vibration. Things are being revealed. It's happening. Of course, these guys don't really like it when we know too much. So they're going to get a little feisty with us, like they just did with the Iran shooting missiles that they said they wouldn't hit anymore, so they did anyway. While NATO's meeting and Trump timed up NATO, so they're like, "All right, we'll show them. All right, we'll see what happens." All right, stay in love vibration. We'll see you guys next time.
Judy note: the greatest military sting operation the world has ever known was in motion right now, engineered by President Trump's global military alliance of 200-plus nations. Military units have been mobilized across the globe for a coordinated strike to destroy the Satan worshipper deep state cabal elite power structure. On Sunday, 5th of July at 6:13 a.m. EST, Operation Mass Arrest 0705 began according to Pentagon sources. Deep state operatives were being detained, 847 federal judges arrested for treason, corruption, crimes against humanity, 456 CIA officials indicted for assassinations, drug trafficking, mind control, 234 senators and congressmen arrested for treason, bribery and election fraud, and 678 FBI officials arrested for obstruction, cover-ups and corruption. On Saturday, July 4, 2026 at 11:12 UTC, in tandem with the military sting operation, Quantum Financial Keys overrode the legacy mainframe of the Vatican Bank. It was an automated asset liquidation mandated by the Global Military Alliance under the new financial system ISO 20022 protocols. The centuries-old monopoly on the world's stolen wealth had dissolved in a fraction of a second with this finalization of a global currency reset to gold/asset-backed currencies of 209 nations. Pentagon sources confirmed that a complete financial system reset was taking place, deep state assets frozen, 847 billion euros seized, corrupt banks shut down, Federal Reserve under military control, new financial system activated, QFS operational, and citizens compensated as debt forgiveness begins. On Tuesday, July 7, 2026, a worldwide debt jubilee and RV of currencies to gold/asset-backed will activate, while law enforcement shifts to natural constitutional law. Trump's global military alliance has taken down the Rothschild Wither modification system. Secret treaties signed in Rome under the old empire that gave Rothschild private central banks the legal right to treat sovereign citizens as collateral, were declared null and void under maritime natural law. As the new quantum financial system drained the Vatican's mainframes, the action unsealed hidden ledgers of the true birthright identities of each and every soul on this planet. That meant all synthetic debt bonds, all fraudulent lifetime loans, all generational tax loops tied to the old Roman financial grid were permanently deleted from the master database. Mainstream channel corporate owners were locked out and broke, with no money to pay themselves, let alone their employees. Meanwhile, there were 50,000 specially trained troops awaiting orders for a worldwide lockdown. Special military units from Russia, Brazil, Europe, France and Germany had been placed in Texas, Florida, New York City and Washington, D.C. for high-profile arrests of corrupt elite cabal members, bankers, politicians, media moguls. Within the next day or so, temporary martial law would be in effect across the globe. The Emergency Broadcast System, EBS, would activate over every cell phone on Earth to announce a 48-hour blackout and lockdown, followed by 10 days of communication darkness across the world. For those 10 days, everyone will be asked to stay at home during a specific 5-hour window. Normal communication would cease during that time while the military alliance continued to make mass arrests. As they did, the mainstream media would be overtaken by documentaries expounding truth across every TV, radio and internet broadcast worldwide. This would be a time of communication reset, with weaponized cell towers neutralized, the banking system frozen and ATMs, credit and debit cards not working. Prepare by stocking food, cash and essentials. Banks and ATMs would be closed. The military would be handing out food and other essentials for those in need, while the EBS would continue to give instructions through everyone's cell phones. According to the Pentagon Insider on Telegram, in Hollywood, Mel Gibson was going nuclear. He was dropping bombshell evidence before Congress, naming Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris and the rest of California's most powerful political machine in what he said was the biggest Hollywood scandal in history. Gibson claimed to have the receipts, visitation records, exact dates and locations, photographs, and video that he claims expose a long-rumored child trafficking network operating inside elite California political and Hollywood circles. At the same time, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese resigned and promptly disappeared. The White Hats and International Maritime Alliance had seized the Australian Treasury after they found 1. $64 million routed to 9 senior Australian ministers for the purpose of destroying Australian domestic farming so as to create a food shortage. 2. A plan to block the global currency reset. 3. A plan to deploy the military against their own Australian citizens if the global restoration plan was announced. Another example of the globalist plan to destroy the world population was found in actions of the Clinton Foundation. On Friday, July 3, 2026, Venezuela kicked out the Clinton Foundation from their country for trafficking children amid earthquake chaos. Clinton Foundation teams were immediately on the ground during the earthquake-ravaged Venezuela disaster. Shocking. A few days ago, Trump's global military alliance of 6 nations disconnected the Rothschilds' weather modification system. The fuel for the Satan-worshipping Rothschild power structure over humanity was money. Rothschild have controlled European banks since 1815 and the American monetary system since 1913. The Rothschild ran Epstein Island and the blackmailing of politicians in Congress to maintain their power over the people. This last weekend, Trump and the BRICS alliance, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, gold/asset-backed currencies of 209 nations' global currency reset was taking away Rothschild control of the people's tax monies and giving it back to the people. The weather was no longer a weapon. For the first time since 1979, the skies belonged to no one. For the first time since 1913 in America and 1815 in Europe, the global monetary system would be under control of the people. Actually, since Friday, May 1, 2016, the gold/asset-backed quantum financial system has been secretly operational and 100% live across the globe. Banks have been seized and troops were enforcing the global currency reset nationwide. Be aware that, as stated, the Emergency Broadcast System, EBS, worldwide activation was imminent, complete with 10 to 12 days of controlled blackout. When the EBS hits, you'll witness the fall of the media, banks, elite and their demonic empire. Martial law will shield civilians, while truth floods every screen on Earth via the Starlink satellite system. The storm was now. Judy note, for the past 12 years in my daily update, Restored Republic via GCR, I have tried to keep the public posted on the latest news regarding the global currency reset and formation of the Restored Republic under concepts of the original Constitution. As of Saturday, July 4, 2026, the trap was broken. Your debts were legally null and void. The biggest lie you were ever told was that you owe them your life. The fiat currency system was officially dead. While you were reading this, the quantum financial system, QFS, was overriding every central bank backend, from Bulgaria to America. They wanted you poor and controlled. The quantum system just made every citizen a shareholder of Earth. The Q awakening on Telegram. Monday, July 6, 2026, the U.S. Department of Justice has been secretly surveying California's Governor Newsom for at least the last 5 years and reportedly has proof of $100s of millions stolen by the Pelosi crime network that Newsom served in for decades. Monday, July 6, 2026, Vladimir Putin, 85% of the Bolshevik government were Jewish. Rothschild Khazarian mafia and those followers of false ideological thoughts have been repressing Jews, Christians, Muslims and other religious followers. They are the enemy of peace. 10 Days of Darkness on Telegram. Sunday, July 5, 2026, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese was given 6 hours to sign his power over to the Interim Military Civilian Oversight Board, or to face tribunals under maritime natural law. He has since disappeared. The International Maritime Alliance, in collaboration with local military white hats, seized the Australian Treasury after they found 1. Private wires totaling $64 million routed from offshore accounts into 9 senior Australian ministers with a purpose to destroy the domestic farming industry so as to create a food shortage and to force compliance with globalists. 2. A plan to block the global currency reset. 3. A plan to deploy the military against their own citizens if the Global Restoration Plan was announced. Sunday, July 5, 2026, Obama never should have legally been on the ballot in 2008. Obama did not have enough of the 500 signatures needed, with 100 to 200 fraudulent signatures found by prosecutors to even qualify to be put on the ballot. Indiana Democrat operatives were caught and convicted for faking signatures for Obama and Hillary Clinton 3 years after the 2008 election. Tier 4B ISO 200. Sunday, July 5, 2026, Kennedy on fraud-riddled Obamacare. We are getting $100 million a year stolen from us because of specific policies that were adopted by the Biden White House. Sunday, July 5, 2020, our Director of National Intelligence was telling us our own intelligence community said multiple times Russia couldn't hack our elections. Then Barack Obama overrode them, pulled their findings, and fabricated his own. Friday, July 3, 2026, for 47 years, the Rothschild controlled the skies through a network of 22 weather modification stations that could direct hurricanes, droughts, floods, and earthquakes, on demand, to any place on Earth. The program was funded by a labyrinth of NGOs, carbon credit systems and green energy foundations, all connected to Rothschild European banks since 1815. A few days ago, the last station was disconnected, seized in Trump's global military alliance operation, New World Order on Telegram. Monday, July 6, 2026, mass arrests begin. Deep state operatives detained. Federal judges indicted. Senators arrested for treason. Military tribunals activated. July 5, 2026. 6:15 a.m. EST. Pentagon sources confirm Operation Mass Arrest 0705. Coordinated military operations across all 50 states. Simultaneous arrests of deep state operatives, federal judges, senators, and CIA officials. The mass arrests operation begins. Pentagon sources confirm coordinated military arrests across all 50 states. Black small square emoji. 847 federal judges arrested. Treason, corruption, crimes against humanity. Black small square emoji. 234 senators and congressmen arrested. Treason, bribery, election fraud. Black small square emoji. 456 CIA operatives arrested. Assassinations, drug trafficking, mind control. Black small square emoji. 678 FBI officials arrested. Obstruction, cover-ups, corruption. The federal judges indicted. Treason charges. 847 federal judges indicted for treason. Black small square emoji. Protecting cartel members. 4.2 billion euros in bribes. black small square emoji, blocking investigations, obstruction of justice, black small square emoji, releasing criminals, protecting deep state operatives, black small square emoji, crimes against humanity. The federal judges are being prosecuted. The senators arrested, election fraud exposed, 234 senators and congressmen arrested for election fraud and treason, black small square emoji, rigging elections, 2020, 2022, 2024 elections rigged. Black small square emoji, accepting bribes, foreign governments, cartels, corporations, black small square emoji, committing treason, selling out America to foreign powers, black small square emoji, crimes against humanity, authorizing wars, funding terrorism. The senators are being arrested. The financial system reset, deep state assets frozen. Pentagon sources confirm complete financial system reset, black small square emoji, deep state assets frozen, 847 billion euros seized, black small square emoji, corrupt banks shut down, Federal Reserve under military control, black small square emoji, new financial system activated, QFS operational, black small square emoji, citizens compensated, debt forgiveness begins. The financial reset is underway. The global dimension, 47 countries coordinated, Pentagon confirms coordinated military operations in 47 countries, black small square emoji, deep state operatives arrested globally, 23,000 plus indictments unsealed, black small square emoji, criminal networks dismantled, cartels, trafficking rings, corruption networks, black small square emoji, military tribunals active, global justice begins, black small square emoji, new world order established, free nations united. This is global military operation. The classified timeline, Phase 1, intelligence gathering Phase 2, covert surveillance Phase 3, coordinated extraction Phase 4, federal purge Phase 5, global reformation Phase 6, military takeover Phase 7, mass arrests. We're here. The deep state panic. The deep state is in complete collapse. They're being arrested. Their crimes are being exposed. Their system is being dismantled. Their assets are being seized. Friday, July 3, 2026, Jazara/Nizara Protocols broadcast. All mortgages, credit cards and student loans linked to usury were frozen for liquidation. Saturday, July 4, 2026, behind closed doors the new quantum financial system has been infiltrating the cabal's old SWIFT fiat currency infrastructure. Account freezes were real and the military has been positioned for final transition. Also on July 4, 2026 at 11:12 UTC with the military tribunals begun, quantum financial keys overrode the legacy mainframe of the Vatican Bank and the assets of the corrupt were seized and redistributed to the Humanity Reclamation Fund. Every citizen would soon be allocated a secure digital vault backed by physical gold. On Sunday 5th of July at 6:13 a.m. EST Operation Mass Arrest 0705 began. 847 federal judges, 456 CIA officials, 234 senators/congressmen and 678 FBI officials arrested. Global liquidity release. On Tuesday, July 7, 2026 a worldwide debt jubilee and RV of currencies to gold/asset-backed activates. Law enforcement shifts to natural law protections under concepts of the original Constitution. The revaluation, RV, of 209 countries' currencies to be gold/asset-backed comes fully alive. Debt jubilee activation begins for those whose accounts have been cleared. Wednesday, July 8, 2026, hidden technologies, Tesla free energy and suppressed medical advancements, MedBeds, officially will be unveiled and released to the general public. Thursday, July 9, 2026. Global celebration protocols enabled. Local communities organize freedom assemblies to distribute the first wave of restoration funds. Mortgages and debt ledgers, permanently detached from the central banking grid. The zero-out sequence is running. The SWIFT protocol, completely bypassed. The digital ghost town has no path back to reality. Your quantum vaults, fully calibrated. The new asset-backed valuation is ready to populate your screens. Sunday, July 5, 2026 the Roman cash has been breached. The ledger is empty. The quantum financial keys overrode the legacy mainframe of the Istituto per l'Opera di Religione, the Vatican Bank. This wasn't a cyber attack. It was an automated asset liquidation mandated by the Global Alliance under the non-reversible ISO 20022 protocols. The centuries-old monopoly on the world's stolen wealth just dissolved in a fraction of a second. Here is the raw data pulled from the deep net tracking screens. The metric ton liquidation, over 14,000 metric tons of physical gold, secretly held in subterranean vaults beneath the Holy See, had been electronically tagged and reassigned to the restored Republic treasuries. The black budget collapse, the offshore accounts used to finance the deep state matrix for the last 2 centuries were frozen mid-transaction. The fiat pipeline is dead. Tier 4B inbounds, the gold backings are being routed into the secure distribution vaults as you read this. The calibration is complete. The old gatekeepers weren't asked for permission. Their decryption authorities were permanently revoked by the Quantum Financial System, QFS, the moment the clock hit the execution window. They kept humanity in debt slavery by backing their paper money with air and locking the world's real wealth in dark vaults. That game is over. The wealth of the earth is being returned to the living ledger. The UK fell. France fractured. Canada is cleansed. Australia is secured. The Fed was severed. And now, the root of the spiritual and financial control system has been completely dug up. Saturday, July 4, 2026, it's over. While you are looking at the headlines, I am looking at the live ISO 20022 integration sheets. The migration didn't just start, it has already overtaken the legacy mainframes. I told you Tier 4B liquidities were positioning, and now the ledger is officially moving under my coordinates, Tier 4B ISO 20022 on Telegram. Here is what I am seeing on the back end right now: mortgages and debt ledgers, permanently detached from the central banking grid. The zero-out sequence is running. The SWIFT protocol, completely bypassed. The digital ghost town has no path back to reality. Your quantum vaults, fully calibrated. The new asset-backed valuation is ready to populate your screens. I didn't lay out the timeline to convince you. I did it so you wouldn't panic when the global reset forces the final update. You wanted a sign. I just gave you the entire map. Sunday, July 5, 2026, President Trump unleashed a brutal attack on Ukraine and NATO, suggesting the possibility of an investigation into United States aid to Ukraine. He said, Biden gave them between $350 and $400 million in equipment and cash. Somebody has to find out about the cash. MAGA Intel Hub on Telegram. Sunday, July 5, 2026, John McAfee. The mainstream media has been using a technology called neurolinguistic programming for more than 15 years. And that neurolinguistic programming makes you think and believe things which are not true. Sunday, July 5, 2026, Australia. The Southern Command is just activated. Australia is headline news in 24 hours. Tier 4B. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has gone into hiding. The press pool is being told it's a classified diplomatic security lockdown. Bullshit. Tranche 2, the Sydney Protocol, a classified military briefing of July 1 shows that the Australian central banking backend was actively trying to block the mandatory ISO 20022 asset-backed migration. They were preparing for a localized digital blackout to freeze all private retail accounts, hoping to blame a fictional foreign cyber attack for public savings loss. Tranche 3, the exclusion files, the last red line. Albanese's signature was found on a co-signed treaty with the old UK and Canadian leadership, outlining a synchronized deployment of the military against their own citizens if the Global Restoration Plan was announced. The Western Alliance indictments that have been unsealed perfectly match flight manifests and military logs. The Prime Minister was met at his private residence by 3 high-ranking generals. There was no political deal on offer, no graceful exit. He was given 6 hours to sign the unconditional devolution of power over the federal treasury to the Interim Military Civilian Oversight Board, or to board a transport plane immediately and face tribunals under maritime natural law. There is total panic in the Canberra political grid. They are looking at the clock, and the clock is 0. Goodbye UK. France is changing. Canada is clean. Tonight Australia is breaking. The whole globalist spine has just been broken. Sunday, July 5, 2020, our Director of National Intelligence, is telling us our own intelligence community said multiple times Russia couldn't hack our elections. Then Barack Obama overrode them, pulled their findings, and fabricated his own. We had a situation here wherein the In the months leading up to the 2016 election, the intelligence community assessed, and this is what the documents detail, the intelligence community assessed essentially, Russia doesn't have the tools, the capability or the intent to try to change the outcome of the U.S. presidential election. Donald Trump pulls off a historic victory against Hillary Clinton in November of 2016. Even in the days after that election, the intelligence community continued their consistent assessment that reflected the same thing in the months leading up to the election. All of a sudden, in the early days of December, there was a President's Daily Brief that was drafted. This is put together by the different elements of the intelligence community that reflected that same assessment. Russia did not try to hack the election. In essence, that PDB, that document was pulled hours before it was supposed to be published for the president to see that following morning. That document was never published until we released it yesterday. One day later, President Obama calls a meeting of his National Security Council, his top officials, to be held on what they called a sensitive topic. And the results of that meeting, which we released yesterday, and these over 100 documents that talk about in detail how President Obama and his team, he directed a manufactured piece of intelligence that detailed not if, but how Russia tried to influence the outcome. Let me remind everyone, Tulsi Gabbard recommended Barack Obama to the DOJ for criminal prosecution 10 months ago. The charges she recommended were for treasonous conspiracy, manufacturing and politicizing intelligence and withholding and leaking classified information. Tulsi Gabbard provided the DOJ with proof that Barack Obama orchestrated the Russia collusion hoax and worked with the CIA to manufacture fake evidence. Where's the indictment? Trump got a legal loan and got indicted. They almost threw him in prison for multiple lifetimes. Barack Obama committed literal treason, documented treason, and nothing. And Friday, July 3, 2026, the Rothschild have just begun to lose control of the weather. For 47 years, they have controlled the skies through a network of 22 weather modification stations that could direct hurricanes, droughts, floods, and earthquakes, on demand, to any place on Earth. The program was called Throne Climate and was funded by a labyrinth of NGOs, carbon credit systems, and green energy foundations, all connected to the same family office in Geneva that has controlled European banks since 1815. A few days ago, the last station was disconnected, seized in a military operation involving 6 nations that have never publicly acknowledged working together. The weather is no longer a weapon. For the first time since 1979, the skies belong to no one. Every natural disaster of the last 47 years had a signature, a digital fingerprint embedded in the ionosphere that preceded it. HAARP researchers have detected it for decades. They were ridiculed, but they were right about everything. Hurricane Katrina, frequency trace detected 72 hours before impact. The 2010 Haiti earthquake has the same frequency signature, originating from a station in Venezuela. The 2011 earthquake, signature attributed to a flagless ship operating in the Pacific. The ship's registration, obtained via QFS Maritime Tracking, belongs to a company conveniently located in the Cayman Islands. The company's sole director, a family trust of the Rothschild family. They didn't predict disasters, they ordered them. Why control the weather? Because the weather controls everything. Food prices, insurance markets, government stability, migration systems, election outcomes. They didn't need an army. $4.2 trillion in natural disaster damages since 1979. Betting on the destruction they created. Harvesting the suffering they caused. For the first time in half a century, the rain will fall where it should fall. Oh, Friday, July 3, 2026, dialogue is burning. Elite network exposed. Deal's empire crumbling. June 23, 2026. The hack begins. By June 29, the entire elite network is exposed. Pentagon investigating. White House intelligence officials compromised. This is not a data breach. This is Operation Elite Exposure. Command Center for Tech Billionaires, intelligence officials, Pentagon insiders. Coordinated military operations. Profited from war. Traded on classified info. Leak exposes, membership lists. Attendee names. AI profiling. Members ranked A, B, C. Pentagon sources, dialogue connected to Polymarket. Betting. Military ops. All connected. June 26, Pentagon investigates. Bolton guilty. Signal. June 28, Polymarket scandal. $2.4 million betting. Smoking gun. June 29th, exposure continues. Elite panicking. July 1st, Pentagon report. Phase 2. July 15th, congressional hearings. Phase 2, 3. August 1st, arrests. Phase 3, 4. Pentagon lost control of military operations. The intelligence network was compromised. Dialogue coordinated ops. Polymarket bet on them. Pentagon profited. Intelligence compromised. 9 Polymarket accounts. $2.4 million profits. Betting on U.S. military ops. One made $400,000. Classified info used. Dialogue members, national security officials. Special ops personnel. Exposed. Compromised. Profiting. Pentagon, this goes to the top. Trump officials. Intelligence leaders. All connected. Capitol Hill, hearings will be explosive. Intelligence, we are powerless. Leak complete. How many military ops through dialogue? How many time for Polymarket profits? 100 plus dialogue members exposed. Intelligence. Pentagon. Trump admin. Leak complete. Evidence overwhelming. Confirmed. Capitol Hill, hearings will expose everything. Verified. Intelligence, deals network finished. Deal is finished. Dialogue is burning. The empire is crumbling. This is warfare. This is justice. This is America reclaiming power back. P. Monday, July 6, 2026. U.S. Patent Number 10,556,120. Filed 2017. Granted 2020. Title: Nervous System Manipulation by Electromagnetic Fields from Monitors. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a United States patent. Publicly searchable on the U.S. TOE database. Filed by Hendrikus G. Luz. Granted by the United States Patent and Trademark Office. The patent describes a method to manipulate the human nervous system remotely using pulsed electromagnetic fields emitted from television screens, computer monitors, and mobile devices. Read that again. A patented method to control your nervous system through the screen you are looking at right now. It is not the only one. U.S. Patent Number 6,506,148, Nervous System Manipulation by Electromagnetic Fields from Monitors. Granted 2003. U.S. Patent Number 5,159,703, Silent Subliminal Presentation System. Granted 1992. U.S. Patent Number 3,951,134, Apparatus and Method for Remotely Monitoring and Altering Brain Waves. Granted 1976. 6 patents. Exposed. On public record. Spanning 44 years of development. All describing technology to remotely influence, manipulate, or control the human nervous system through electromagnetic frequencies.
Founder, owner, administrator of Dinar Chronicles, Operation Disclosure Official, and Voyages of Light. We have received reports from July 5th claiming that Alpine Command was activated, leading to a joint military intelligence task force and European White Hat Division commands executing a tactical raid on the World Economic Forum headquarters in Geneva. This alleged operation supposedly uncovered plans for the total biomechanical enslavement of humanity. Exposed secret bank logs detailing $82 billion funneled to prominent Western leaders. Lockdown script was corrupted by a new quantum system. Furthermore, over 400 high-ranking corporate executives and unelected globalist officials were allegedly issued unconditional surrender orders, with the Post proclaiming that the globalist spine has just been snapped. The global financial system has officially migrated to the ISO 20022 standard. This significant shift renders legacy SWIFT protocols obsolete, initiating a total decoupling from traditional central banking debt ledgers. This transition marks the activation of Tier 4B liquidity and the calibration of quantum vaults, moving the world into a Web 3.0 financial environment where asset-backed valuations replace fiat structures through an automated zero-out sequence of legacy debts. Ultimately, this represents a systematic reset, replacing aging mainframes with a high-speed digital ledger infrastructure for the modern era. Possible timing. Monday, July 6, 2026, following the activation of Alpine Command and the alleged raid on the World Economic Forum headquarters, the immediate implications of the globalist spine being snapped are expected to begin surfacing. Concurrently, the first 24 hours of the critical 72-hour execution plan for the global financial reset will commence. This period will see the initial shift towards a structured approach to debt management within the newly migrated ISO 20022 financial system, officially decoupled from traditional central banking debt ledgers. Tuesday, July 7, 2026, the second day of the 72-hour operational framework, will focus on navigating the transition into the Web 3.0 financial environment. With Tier 4B liquidity activated and quantum vaults calibrating, the world is moving towards asset-backed valuations, replacing fiat structures. Alleged ongoing covert operations, including the deployment of classified shockwave and direct energy weapons in Colombian drug labs, and the fight against hidden forces in underground bases, may continue to generate unexpected earthquakes globally. Wednesday, July 8th, today marks the completion of the 72-hour execution plan designed to manage the immediate aftermath of the systematic financial evolution. The zero-out sequence of legacy debts, replacing fiat structures with asset-backed valuations, is anticipated to become actively apparent or widely discussed. This finalizes the transition to a high-speed digital ledger infrastructure, marking a total systematic reset and the full operational implementation of the ISO 20. Thursday, July 9th, with the global financial system fully integrated into the Web 3.0, the focus for participants shifts towards establishing financial independence. The alleged uncovering of plans for total biochemical enslavement of humanity and the exposure of secret bank logs during the WEF raid may lead to increased public awareness or discussions regarding these revelations and their long-term implications for global governance. Friday, July 10th, as the new financial paradigm solidifies, ongoing domestic efforts such as the restoration of Washington, D.C.'s historic monuments, from the Andrew Jackson statue's cannons to the Lincoln reflecting pole, are expected to continue. Meanwhile, the strategic deployment of advanced U.S. military assets, including bulletproof super soldiers with advanced armor and Teslatron-powered gravity rigs, may remain a subject of QAnon. Related discussions concerning the covert global conflict are expected to continue influencing narratives surrounding public health and surveillance. As the world adjusts to the post-reset reality, individuals are encouraged to prioritize psychological clarity over panic and build foundational support systems outside traditional institutional control to counter increasing government narratives around digital safety. Global Currency Reset. Sunday, July 5th, Web 3.0, ISO 20022, the global financial system has officially migrated to the ISO 20, rendering legacy SWIFT protocols obsolete and initiating a total decoupling from traditional central banking debt ledgers. This transition marks the activation of Tier 4B liquidity and the calibration of quantum vaults, moving the world into a Web 3.0 financial environment where asset-backed valuations replace fiat structures through an automated zero-out sequence of legacy debts. Ultimately, this shift represents a localized and systematic reset, replacing aging mainframes with a high-speed digital ledger infrastructure designed for the modern era. Sunday, July 5th, as the transition toward a Web 3.0 ISO 20022 infrastructure approaches, the focus must shift from debating the validity of the global financial reset to establishing a rigorous operational framework for the immediate aftermath. This systematic evolution demands more than just anticipation. It requires a structured 72-hour execution plan, definitive debt management strategies, and a commitment to financial independence to counter increasing government narratives surrounding digital safety and surveillance. By prioritizing psychological clarity over panic and building a foundation that exists outside traditional institutional control, participants can successfully navigate the transition, ensuring they are not just recipients of new wealth, but resilient architects of their own future in a post-switch economy.
Switzerland is headline news within 24 hours. The World Economic Forum headquarters in Geneva has just gone dark. The mainstream press pool is being told it's a routine scheduled system maintenance. BS. Klaus Schwab has vanished from the public eye. The globalist handlers are scrambling to generic AI-generated video loops to pretend he is still directing operations. But the private patriot intelligence groups already have the decryption keys. The mainstream channels are frozen in terror, waiting for orders from a Swiss command center that has been completely neutralized. Here is the raw, unedited truth of what was pulled from the subterranean servers beneath Davos last night. A joint military intelligence task force, cooperating with European White Hat Division commands, initiated a forced tactical raid on the central servers of the Globalist Planning Committee. They didn't come to audit, they came with absolute execution warrants. What they extracted from the encrypted drives wasn't an economic plan. It was the final layout for the total biomechanical enslavement of humanity, instead of the usual political negotiations. The Alliance High Command has split the confiscated data into 3 devastating tranches of high treason. Tranche 1, the Davos liquidation. Encrypted bank logs expose a secret web of private wires routing over $82 billion from global black budgets directly into the private accounts of 12 prominent Western leaders. The purpose? To artificially force the digital ID implementation by the end of this year. Through a synchronized collapse of the domestic supply chains. Tranche 2, the Husizio Protocol. Classified internal memos from the World Health Organization reveal the real reason behind the panic. Their centralized authority codes were completely overwritten by the new quantum system. Simulated lockdown script for this winter was permanently corrupted from the master server before they could press the broadcast button. Tranche 3, the globalist indictments. The absolute red line. The unsealed flight manifests and military logs from the Geneva raid match perfectly with global tribunal warrants. Over 400 high-ranking corporate executives and unelected globalist officials were handed unconditional surrender orders. They weren't offered deals. They were given hours to sign the full forfeiture of their corporate assets to the restored Republic Treasury or face immediate processing under military maritime law. The political grid in Europe is in total unedited panic. They are looking at the countdown clock and the screen is flashing red. The old dynasties are gone. The corporate landlord is broken. The central banks are severed. Davos is falling tonight. The entire globalist spine has just been snapped.
Sunday, July 5th, 2026, 022 is live. Tier 4B liquidities positioning, Web 3.0. While you are looking at the headlines, 2 integration sheets. The migration didn't just start, it has already overtaken the legacy mainframes. I told you Tier 4B liquidities were positioning, and now the ledger is officially moving under my coordinates. Here is what I'm seeing on the back end right now. Mortgages and debt ledgers, permanently detached from the central banking grid. The zero-out sequence is running. The SWIFT protocol completely bypassed. The digital ghost town has no path back to reality. Your quantum vaults, fully calibrated. The new asset-backed valuation is ready to populate your screens. I didn't lay out the timeline to convince you. I did it so you wouldn't panic when the global reset forces the final update. You wanted a sign, I just gave you the entire map. Sunday, July 5th, 2026. They aren't preparing you for what happened to 022 on Telegram. Everyone is obsessed with if this will happen. Well, almost no one is ready for what to do once it does. That's the trap. The system is already shifting. The real test is not the exchange itself. It's what you become the moment you're funded and visible. In these last days before July 29th, I'm not chasing confirmation anymore. I'm building structure. A simple written plan for my first 72 hours after exchange. A clear list of debts I will close immediately and which ones I will never touch again. Names of people and projects I will support first. In order, without emotion, making me improvise. Nothing fancy, just decisions made from the numbers hit this before the numbers hit the screen. I'm also nothing fancy, just decisions made from the numbers hit this before the numbers hit the screen. I'm also noticing how the U.S. narrative is being shaped in advance. Financial crime prevention, used as an excuse for more control. Digital safety, framed as a reason to monitor every movement. New talking points that make anyone who wants independence look suspicious. They are preparing the public to accept tighter walls. I am preparing quietly to live outside those walls. One more thing, if you haven't received any direct instruction yet, don't let fear rewrite your identity. There are phases, there are windows. The ledger reads alignment, not panic. Desperation scrambles decisions. Clarity stabilizes your position. I'm using this window to become someone the system can't shake once the switch flips. Someone who can't be bought, rushed, or guilt-tripped, because after July 29th, the real reason won't be whether the reset is real. The question will be whether you are ready to live as if it is. Sunday, July 5th, a DC Beautiful update from the Builder-in-Chief. It's hard to keep up with everything POTUS is restoring, but just today he posted that. The cannons surrounding the Andrew Jackson statue have been restored and the graffiti cleaned off. The Korean War Memorial pool is cleaned and clear. The Theodore Roosevelt Island National Memorial with 2 fountains and a statue has been repaired, cleaned, and beautified. The White House North Portico renovation is moving along. The Valor statue, one of the Art of War statues, is being completely re-gilded. The Lincoln reflecting pool that was lately shockingly vandalized is crystal clear, and the first statue for the Triumphal Arch is finished. It's of Abraham Lincoln, 33 Q drops dark to light. This is connected to QTSR's July 4th drop about why so many earthquakes. 1/11/26, cue the Storm Rider. They are talking about this advanced tech and shockwave weapons. Those shockwave weapons being used in Colombia over in the mountains. Only 20 of these super soldiers were running through all of these hundreds of military forces, and there's a shockwave that's going through. Massive reports from Columbia mountains where cartels are producing cocaine at underground facilities. They call U.S. super soldiers El Diablo forces. Powerful soldiers that came into the mountains. The U.S. military is in possession of powerful technology and shockwave weapons, direct energy weapons, sound weapons, sonic weapons. 4/8/26, cue the Storm Rider at Patreon. The future is full of diamonds, real diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, nano diamonds, diamonds from the moon. Super advanced tech that makes it possible for aliens, hybrids, reptilians, different beings, spirits to blend into the public. Super technology connected to diamonds. Super soldiers wearing graphite, nano diamond bodysuits that protect them when being shot at with sonic weapons or particle weapons. They can run through energy fields and the suit protects them. It's also connected to super magnets. Teslatrons, nanotechnology. Super soldiers wearing this super suit encrusted with graphite and nano diamonds have little Teslatrons spinning faster than light. That creates a gravity suit. That is why you're hearing reports of American soldiers in Iran jumping off planes without parachutes. That would be something to see. They slow down before they hit Earth, then stand up and run off again. The suit pushes them at high speeds. It manipulates gravity. Wow. Can you imagine seeing that? Not knowing what's going on? I think there was a super soldiers running around. 7/4/26, cue the Storm Rider. News 17 channel at Patreon. The earthquake stuff is going to be mind-blowing. Indonesia coast 6.2, Japan coast 6.9, Philippines 6.5, Afghanistan 6.1, Northern California 5.6, Oregon, Anchorage, Mexico, Venezuela, Texas tremors where they shouldn't be earthquakes. This is really big. I was telling you, they're hunting cyborgs, they're hunting aliens, they're hunting hybrids. This is what was happening inside of Israel. Iran, inside the US, under Earth, there's a lot of stories of ancient civilizations, aliens, reptilians, different living insect people that live under Earth, also inside Earth. There's different frequencies. Mount Shasta to Alaska to Russia to Ukraine to Germany, Italy, Australia, France, Canada, the US. There's these underground webs of energy, force fields. At all these places are underground bases. That's what the fight has been for a long time. These wars to capture underground bases, this war that's secretly happening connected to aliens, to deep state, the cabal, to satanic operations, to satanic aliens. This huge, gigantic war. U.S. super soldiers are going after these operations to either capture or destroy some of these powerful aliens. When they're hitting them with these powerful weapons at the aliens' last moments, their atoms are splitting. When an atom splits, you get this chain reaction of a nuclear explosion. And that's what's happening in these deep down underground bases, causing a ripple effect and causing some of these earthquakes. You're seeing these powerful aliens, powerful different species being annihilated with different weapons. The U.S. is hitting them with advanced technology dues. It's their bodies that is the energy that is exploding and creating the earthquakes.
The sun.
What we think we know, Sunday, July 5th, X22 report episode 3941. Trump set up the economy for gold to revalue. Communist infiltration countered. The X22 report episodes discuss a shift in the U.S. economy towards gold-backed stability and a patriotic movement against deep state influence, advocating for informed citizenry and restoring foundational American values. Sunday, July 5th, 2026. A CERN scientist let something slip. CERN scientist Dr. Clara Nellist announced the Large Hadron Collider's transformation into a more powerful, high luminosity version, sparking curiosity about its purpose in exploring the universe's mysteries. Sunday, July 5th, X-Spirit, who is changing our reality and why? CERN's Large Hadron Collider, shut down in 2026, aims for upgrades, while alleged Mandela effects suggest altered realities since its full power. This raises questions about reality manipulation and future transformations. Sunday, July 5th, 2026, Axios, Deep State Military Purged. The final phase begins. On July 5th, 2026, the Pentagon rebranded as the Department of War, marking a military takeover with a $1.15 trillion defense bill passed, indicating global military operations and purging of deep state officials. Sunday, July 5th, 2026, Axios, military tribunals activated. On July 5th, 2026, coordinated military operations led to mass arrests of deep state operatives, federal judges, senators, and CIA officials across the U.S., marking a significant regime change. Sunday, July 5th, 2026, breaking special report. America at 250, the system Britain stole and Trump is taking back. Restoring the American system, reclaiming prosperity. Video, the Great Awakening is here. As America hits 250, Donald Trump is tearing down the corrupt British imperial system of high finance that stole our birthright. Discover the deep, dark secret the globalists hid for 125 years and how the American system is restoring prosperity, breaking the chains of financial empires, and reclaiming the nation's divine destiny. Sunday, July 5th, 2026. Intel exclusive. Trump unleashes the $150 trillion secret trust. How Trump overturns Chevron and the Supreme Court just crushed 161 years of globalist debt slavery. Video. The vault is open. Trump unleashes the hidden $150 trillion secret trust to turn American families into millionaires. Discover how Trump overturned Chevron and how the Supreme Court just crushed 161 years of globalist debt slavery. The elites are terrified as the final reset begins into gold and XRP.
Good morning. It's Monday. It's the 6th of July, 2026. And if you're an England fan, you'll be happy because they beat Mexico overnight. But it reminds me of the old saying, give them bread and circuses. They will not revolt. Whilst that game was going on, it was probably one of the biggest circuses you could ever imagine, with penalties, with people being sent off, with everything else. The perfect distraction from Lebanon getting hit by a massive bomb from Israel. Focus on the World Cup. Look over here. Israel has been attacking Lebanon and Gaza while the World Cup's been on. Nothing in mainstream media. A massive attempt at a land grab. But this will all come out in the end. The truth always comes out in the end. This is the beauty of life. Everything comes to light in the end. My second story is the Federal Reserve, which I told you their days were over a long time ago. Now it's becoming public knowledge. The public can now see it. It's now coming into the public domain. The complete collapse of a system called the Federal Reserve that was neither federal or had any reserve. That is being completely dismantled, and I had no idea how big a job that was to dismantle the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, if you actually looked into it, would blow your mind. The levels of corruption, the levels of fraud, you cannot even comprehend what's been going on in the Federal Reserve. They've lost trillions of dollars on paper. Where did it all go? It's all been stolen. And they left it to the taxpayer to pick up the pieces, while the parasite class stole it. Interesting period in this part of the exposure. This is why it was called draining the swamp. The swamp is filthy, the swamp is dirty, and you're now about to see it. And this is the same with the IRS. You're seeing the complete collapse of that in public now. It's been closed down for 4 or 5 years, but they've been sending out letters by their automated systems demanding this, demanding that, demanding the other. But we're now starting to see the complete collapse of the IRS and the Federal Reserve. I told you this 6, 7 years ago. I showed you evidence 5 years ago. Certain people didn't believe it. It's fine, there's no problem with that. I would urge you not to believe it, but to do your own research, because when you do your own research, you find out the truth. My next story is also something that we get called conspiracy theorists about, but is now coming to light. MK Ultra. I've known about this for a number of years now. I've investigated it. I would urge you to do the same. Have a look at what's going on. I've had a number of people very closely involved with MK Ultra on my show. Do your research, and then you'll start to find out what's really going on in the world. It'll blow your mind. There is so much happening right now, and the dismantling of the old system and the removal of evil takes time. There's a lot of people who are awake who want it done yesterday. When you start to dig to see how deep the tentacles went, you can see why it's taking the time that it is to dismantle. There are people out there, and I've had direct contact with them, who still believe that they're in control. They still believe that they run the world. Those days are over. We're moving forward, and America, you're moving forward today. After Independence Day, now you've got real independence away from the City of London. the Vatican, Washington, D.C. You've now got a leader who is prepared to lead the American people, who's going to lead you out of the darkness into the light. But boy, oh boy, on the way out, the darkness is attacking like you would never, ever know. My last story, it just blew my mind, was invented, you guessed it, by two Jewish Americans. These two men was Louis Goodman and Alfred Gilman. Not in a hospital. This was done in a military weapons lab in 1942. Do your own research and you'll find out. This wasn't done to make you better. This was created to destroy your immune system, and all their trials proved that. It destroyed your immune system completely. The damage by these parasites put into you by the parasite class. We're living in amazing times, but as you wake up to the truth, you'll wake up with joy in your heart and peace in your heart, knowing that their days are over. What's to come is beautiful. We're in a very special time. There's a lot of fearmongers out there trying to distract. There's a lot of circuses trying to divert your attention. Do not be distracted. That was the news on Monday, the 6th of July, 2026.
Intuition secrets. So a little trouble going live because there seems to be a lot of energy in the atmosphere these days. So a lot of energy coming off the sun, impacting us. So I don't know how that's going to end up with the earthquakes and so forth, but they're coming, I believe. So we'll see where they happen. All right. So today, before we get into the despicable war crimes from Ukraine, as they beg on their knees for more blood money from satanic NATO, meeting tomorrow on 7/7, right? So you know how they like those numbers. All right, Laura Loomer, before we get started, Laura Loomer, reporter claim hospitalized Mitch McConnell is brain dead. Conservative activist Laura Loomer and journalist Desiree Townsend both claimed Monday that Senator Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky, has been declared brain dead, citing unnamed sources. So it's not official yet, but they're leaking it. So I guess that's the way they do things these days. Loomer wrote on X that according to a senior source she said was close to the White House, McConnell has been declared brain dead and was not expected to recover. High-level sources close to the White House tells me Mitch McConnell is officially brain dead. He's not coming back, right? So his Chinese spy wife has run to China to tell them to get insights of what she's supposed to do next, right? Yeah, China. So we're working on things, expose things, and I think that's why. Yeah. So why did his wife travel to China? I guess you're on it too. Yeah, it's very good. Why? Why? Ask why? Because we know that California is basically communist China, right? And I guess Kentucky is too. All right. So and Georgia and you name these places, China has bought them out. So it is what we have to overcome. It's a process. And China Mitch, that's right, Glitch Mitch. So he's bye-bye. And we're going to see, I believe, a lot more of these bad congressional and Senate types are going to start to go bye-bye, all right? And they've already been, probably taken off the scene in some cases. Maybe clones or they're running their clones instead. Who knows? All right, we'll figure it out in the long term, or maybe not. We don't need to know. Just all you guys go bye-bye. You don't do anything for us anymore. So why are you taking our money and giving it all away, and giving it to communists? So a lot of people are saying the next war is not with Russia or China or anything like that. It's with the communists here in America. So, I don't know. I don't think we're going to go that far, but I do think there's going to be some conflict there. Probably the way these things usually work, just like we saw with the British Empire, they don't go away quietly. You got to run them off with guns, right? So we'll see. You think Mitch? I think Mitch went bye-bye. I think so. His wife was his handler. Yes. I believe his wife was his handler. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey. Test unity as Ukraine war and Trump tensions loom. As NATO leaders gather in Ankara tomorrow, Tuesday, 7/7, the alliance faces a stark test of unity, burden sharing, and strategic clarity. Now, we know in Trump's first term, he went head to head with NATO. He was disgusted with NATO, lots of things, right? He was disgusted with the crazy Green New Deal and all that crazy stuff. So he went head to head with all that. So the war in Ukraine, transatlantic tensions, and Middle East instability, all pressing heavily on the agenda. Now we know that NATO did not help, in some cases actually worked against us in basically taking down the regime, which is very close to collapse in Iran. Now the Iranians just recently had I thought these guys had to do, like within a couple of days, they had to be buried. Wasn't that the case? Remember Osama bin Laden? They just dumped him out at sea because the Muslims, have to have a burial in a couple of days. So they're like, okay. So they kicked him out of a helicopter into the sea. At least that's a story. Whoever that was playing Obama at that time. Not Obama. Yeah, Obama, right? Osama bin Laden. So I get those two confused every now and then because they're both, Muslims. So it's easy to do that. So and neither one of them are citizens of the United States. So and one of them is maybe both of. Well, I know that one of them had kids, all right, real kids, and the other one borrowed kids. Right? So you figure out which one that is. All right. So the Ankara meeting is overshadowed by renewed friction between Washington and its European allies. U.S. President Donald Trump has again questioned NATO's value. Yes, it should go away, President Trump. Good job. Calling the relationship ridiculous. Bunch of Nazis all the way from World War II. The Nazis didn't lose, guys. The Nazis are still there. And the Nazis, a lot of the Nazis from World War II, the generals and so forth, once everybody, we won the war. And then quietly we started putting Nazis, former Nazi generals, into positions of in NATO, running NATO. So that's the real situation of NATO. And the whole time, NATO is supposed to stop Russia. Because the Germans lost against Russia and they were pretty pissed about it. They're still pissed about it. And that's why Russians are fighting. They're pretty much fighting for their existence. And NATO and Europe are still trying to destroy Russia still. And so we have a country just like we would if Mexico was trying to come into United States or Canada or anything like that, was trying to take down America. And we had, China was, funding through drug money and drugs and, different, fentanyl. Fentanyl's made in China, sent to Mexico. and then comes across the border and heroin and all that kind of stuff. So, we've called them out about that. And we imagine if China was buying drones for, Mexico, and they were sending drones and blowing our cities up like they're doing in, against Russia right now. A lot of those drones that hit Moscow recently, within the last week or so, they were made in Italy. And we're going to see where Italian drones, and you'd think they'd be smart enough to like take the Italian signature, insignias and all that kind of stuff off their drones so they could have deniability. But no, they don't care. They're, part of the satanic, Nazi cult that's NATO. And they're blowing up little girls' schools. And we're going to talk about that. So war crimes have been committed by Ukraine. They try and portray Russia as being evil. It doesn't work because it's lies. And we know that the government of Ukraine is satanic. They basically have taken over churches, Orthodox churches, Russian Orthodox churches in Kyiv, and turned them into, of course, transgender places where they dance around in the former places where there used to be crosses and all that stuff. So these people are satanic, guys. And they're former Nazis, Bandera group, all the way back to World War II. Remember the concentration camps in Poland? They were run by this group, right? So anyway, U.S. President Donald Trump again questioned NATO's value, calling the relationship ridiculous and not reciprocal, in comments that revive longstanding disputes over defense spending and strategic priorities and responsibilities. I will throw that in. So he says it's ridiculous for the USA to continue along this one-sided path. So this is what the Nazis have done when they did Operation Paperclip, invaded the United States after World War II with their Nazis. They came into the CIA, they came into NASA, they came into our government, NATO, the UN, all these different government agencies. They've infiltrated them. They were basically formed by them. Now we know that after during World War II, Hitler basically escaped with Eva Braun to Argentina. So they went through, through the, lines through Switzerland and then down through Italy, got on a submarine, and then went all the way over to Argentina, where they had Bavarian, towns that they had built for decades. And then we went down to Antarctica. They've been down in Antarctica for a long time. We found out about that, and we had the Admiral Byrd fleet that went down there. I think it was like 48, 49, somewhere around in there, which is basically the summertime down there, wintertime in our area, December, January. So because of the flip of the, the lines anyway, so across the equator. So they went down there, and the Germans had been working, with some very bad alien groups, Draco reptilians and the tall grays. They've been given technologies, and they sent that fleet, running, multiple aircraft carriers and destroyers and cruisers and lots of planes and so forth. They cut those planes in half with direct energy weapons, and so they just hightailed it out of there. So in 1952, several years later, they came in with a fleet of flying saucers and hovered over, and this is all documented, hovered over the Capitol for 6 hours and beamed down and basically took hostage all of the senators and congressmen, the president, and top business people that had gathered to pass laws and so forth. They knew they were going to be there during that time frame, and they made them sign, you either die or you sign these agreements to basically give us the power. We're going to be in control from now on. So they signed, and fortunately, we had President Ike come in, and he started the White Hat. So that's kind of where we're at right now. President Trump, of course, being part of the White House, White Hats, White House, White Hat, right? So that's a nice play on words. So we're seeing basically the White Hats are taking down with President Trump as their leader at this point, taking down this system slowly, methodically. So we're seeing it being taken down across the board. Now, as someone that has fought against enemies, foreign and now domestic, for well over 35 years, and now going into over 50 years now, 35, 40 years now, we're seeing this system being taken down. So as someone that has fought, as a special forces guy and, in the CIA, and now as a truther, spreading good information, to keep everybody informed. What we're seeing now is a takedown of all these different systems. So you can't, like the Bush and Obama and all these other idiots, they would tell everybody what we're going to do. We're going to come into Iraq on this day. It's like, so you guys hide all those, missiles and, weapons of mass destruction, send them over to Syria where they'll be safe for a little while. And we'll have our weapons and CIA weapons, inspector, like I was involved in that. And they disappeared. We knew they went up. We knew we were following the trail over into Syria. I was part of that. And then the shit hit the fan, like they planned. And so they called it off. We couldn't go investigate anymore, but we knew. And of course, we saw that Syria had, bioweapons and so forth and chemical weapons and stuff. And that's what Saddam Hussein sent over there to his buddy, right? So this is part of the process, disclosing all this, exposing a lot of this stuff that's happened. So that was Iraq. Now we have Iran, which is basically a deep state puppet, just like we saw with North Korea, deep state puppet as well. So we were starting to take all these down. Of course, President Trump made good with Kim Jong-un, who I believe is gone. He's dead. He's been replaced. All right. So I just saw another picture of him, his replacement, and he looks really nothing at all like the old Kim Jong-un. So I called that a long time ago, that he passed away during the. So, and of course, President Trump went over there, crossed the border. No U.S. president had done that before, and everybody was so scared because the press was working it up. And they even almost let a nuke off, shot a nuke from a deep state submarine in Hawaii. They had they scared the hell out of the Hawaiians. Everybody thought they were going to get nuked, and then it was called off at the last minute because they stopped the nuke. Right. So there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and for the last, several during the first Trump administration and during Biden's administration, because Biden wasn't there, of course, Trump was still in charge. We have basically been looking for nukes, deep state nukes. And I just saw this one show. I've been following this show for a couple seasons. So the third season's out now. It's called Silo. Highly recommend that. It's basically, they built these silos so people could survive. And they go deep into the ground. And there's a little bit of area in the top where they can view out and see the world that's like destroyed pretty much. So they've been there for hundreds of years because something happened. So they're in this third season. There was a nuke, a dirty bomb nuke that was set off somewhere around DC or something. And we're flying in to basically bomb Iran because they're the ones that set it off. And sounds a lot like what could be happening now, right? So they tell us what's going to happen. And so we sent these bombers in to bomb Iran. I think we're going to nuke them or something. And they ran into some kind of very high-tech cloud that basically destroyed their aircraft. And so we're leading up to find out, what happened to the silo group. So it had all these different silos. So this one woman escaped and went to another silo where the people, basically wigged out, and kind of like what happened just recently in California and one of the cities of high-end beach city where hoodlums came and ransacked it. So kind of like that, where people just went wigged out. And they couldn't get control of it, and this silo almost completely, everybody died on it pretty much, but one or two people. And so she somehow made it to that silo in season 2, I think it was, and she found out some stuff. So she had to go back to her other silo, and now her memory's gone. So this is kind of cool. It's a great series. I highly recommend it. It's on Apple Plus. So it's basically kind of giving us some stuff, right? So at some point, something happened where the world was, obliterated and put into a long gray period. It seems like hundreds of years or something. So that's kind of what we may be seeing.